I just wanted to bring this up. It's just an interesting concept that I'm working with here. I could go on about this for hours. But if this inspires any of you at home to maybe think about this stuff and think what we could do, I'd really love to see some of your ideas, because I think that we can do so much with Counter-Strike. Anyway, we're done now. Maybe I'll polish it up eventually and I'll present it properly to the whole world. But there's a lot that can go into this, and I think there's a lot that we can do. And anyway, let's continue with the show. Thank you for the time.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
HLTV Confirmed. Welcome to episode 57, season 5. I don't know. Is this going to be just? Are we going to do seasons anymore, guys? Do we think seasons are done? We just count up episodes now.
We're just gonna do the Joe Rogan experience thing where he just goes. Does he do like the full like 1,000 or something? I think he has.
He just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I think he doesn't stop. So we might as well just stop at season 5 and go there.
The idea with seasons is like to give people an idea of we're doing something new. And in the past, the show maybe wasn't that great at some points. And we wanted like people that gave us a shot and they're like, oh, this is trash, a reason to come back. And are like, new season, new stuff coming. So people could like, oh, maybe they're not trash anymore. So now that we're kind of hit this level where people actually watch the show, I don't really feel the need to change anything. And therefore we'll just stick on season 5 until we do like a overhaul of some sort.
Maybe we just keep it like this until we get maybe back to LAN. And if we start doing them offline or something, we can have them as like special editions or whatever, right? And
how about we do this until we get simple and we start off the new season with simple?
All right, yeah. Well, that should be a celebration. In
so episode 1546.
Oh dear, it's gonna take a while, isn't it? Maybe if he wins
simple.
the major, he might come on. But I have to quickly get the housekeeping done, boys. So we need to thank our sponsors, our lovely sponsors who make this all possible. Xtrfy. I won't spell it out because Prof called me out last time. But if you guys are looking for some peripherals, head over to their website. I don't know how you're going to find it. Google Xtrfy. And if you can't spell it, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I tried.
You can go in the description of the YouTube video and find a link there, or you can go on Twitch TV/HLTV, and there's also a link there.
Okay, there you go. Prof has directed you instead of just
what
being
up
able
now,
to spell.
Australians?
So there you go. Prof's really helped you out. Parry Match, remember to gamble responsibly, and Bitskins, buy and trade CSGO items. So there you go. That's the sponsors done and dusted. Now we don't have a special guest this week, and I think that's probably a good place for us to be because there's a lot for us to dig into here, and there's been a lot that's happened. Now, boys, I don't have any funny questions. I'm really quite low on energy at the moment. I wish I did, right? Lucas, I haven't even introduced you yet, mate. All right, Lucas, is everything going to be okay tonight? Are you feeling okay?
I don't know. Maybe I'll work on season 6 while you guys start talking.
Okay, what are you going to add in season 6?
No idea. I'll like put some funny hats on you guys and we can call it
funny
season
hats.
6.
Okay, we're going into TF2 territory now.
I think that's worth a new season, definitely.
How about we add the ancient background? You know how we have like the map, like running through maps. I don't think we have an ancient one.
New
you go.
maps. There you go, Lucas. Season 6 with
Do we
new
all?
maps.
By the way, do we always use the same map, or am I crazy?
I think it's been the same maps I've used like consistently for 4 years now.
I don't
Okay.
even know what's in the background. Probably don't even have vertigo then.
It
Might need a
no
rebrand.
vertigo, and it has like the old cobblestone, the original one.
There we go. That's a throwback. We should keep that.
All right. Now, I want to get stuck into things pretty quickly here. I want to let everybody know, maybe there's viewers who are coming in here with all the drama of today and the internet, to come here for some juicy Chad rants about that shit. Boys, the one thing that you should know about me by this fucking point is I don't give a fuck about the political nonsense. I just care about the Counter-Strike. The literal one thing is just the Counter-Strike. So we're not going to be delving into any of that because it doesn't overlap with the Counter-Strike, right? So that's it. We're just going to leave that one there, and we're going to move on swiftly forward and get stuck into the show. So Lucas, roll the bumper, and let's start the recent news. All right, we're back, and we've got a lot of fun stuff here to sink our teeth into. Now, Striker, I think we all need to take a moment here of appreciation, right? The Counter-Strike world, they need to take a moment. I want you guys to put your XQCLs in the chat for Striker right now, guys, all right? You juices out there. Because Striker basically was the one updating the entire Counter-Strike world on what has been going on with the RMRs and the qualification process. Now, this is a two-pronged thing, and I'm sure that we're going to speak a lot about it here today. And I really do want to jump into different options as the show goes forward. But yeah, I just wanted to take a moment here, Striker, to say thank you, because I think without you updating everybody, and it's still confusing now for a lot of people, but without you at least doing the best job you could, I think there would have been even more confusion. So how many hours did you sink in this week into just keeping tabs on all that shit?
I mean, I was looking at it almost like every hour, maybe like 30 minutes for every hour of like when anything was going on that was relevant to it. Like I'd say half the day essentially, every day that we kind of had anything relevant like that happening. So yeah, wasn't so much fun, but I did it because I knew that people were confused and they just needed that information. And I have to say, not like I did all of this alone. Like I like had the chance to kind of like bounce off of Wikipedia guys who for example knew first that Heroic were through. That's kind of like how I had to go and check like if they were correct and stuff like that, and I confirmed it and everything like that. So it's not like I was working at this alone and I had people that I could bounce off of if I was right with certain things, and they even like made me aware of certain things. So a couple of the Wikipedia guys, and then Carbon was kind of there also helping me out. Carbon Dogma, who used to work with Wikipedia, now is a writer with us. So I just want to make sure that people kind of appreciate everybody who is doing some stuff about it. The CSGO statistic guy, the Brazilian guy who's kind of been doing like the more in-depth stuff about like what teams need to do to even qualify for the major and stuff like that. I focused more on the RMRs and tried to do as much of the more of the round robin and tried to focus on as much of the major implications as I could. But like with how many combinations there were, I kind of left like the really complicated stuff to them and kind of like bounced off of them on the back of that. So yeah, didn't really actually get to watch much of Counter-Strike because of that, but I did what I could.
Yeah, and Prof, you were more than happy to take credit for that on social media, I saw.
Of course, because I don't know if people are actually memeing this right now, or is it actually happening that people confuse the two of us all the time. I know some people in chat are doing it right now and saying like, thanks, Prof, for the hard work and stuff like that. But legit people on articles that have at the top, like no picture of us, just the name, would just go and like, Striker's article, great article, Prof, and vice versa. So I find that still quite funny. I don't know where it came from. It just like magically appeared, this kind of meme, or maybe it's not a meme. I'm not even sure. So good.
I mean, I've had like 3 or 4 people within like 2 hours write to me in Serbian, Croatian, whatever, one of the Balkan languages. I can't really recognize which one it is, even though I can understand some of it. And they're just assuming that I'm Croatian, Serbian, whatever it is, right? So I don't know. I guess there's like a point where it is a meme for some people who actually know who the two of us are, and that we actually are not, in fact, the same person. And then there are people who actually don't know that. So there we go.
I think it's going to kick off more now, right? So we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. Now they will be memeing on it. Now it will become a big talking point. So, all right, now let's jump on into this drama that happened with Spirit and forZe today. Now,
So good.
Prof, do you want to do the honors here? Because I saw it and I went, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Yeah, it was amazing. It just came out of nowhere, and it's already resolved, but it's amazing. It's just like, first of all, just having a tweet come up, Spirit, 2 tweets, one in Russian, one in English. Amazing. I love that. Brazilian orgs should look at that. If you want to do an image tweet, always tweet another one in English, because we can't translate if it's not like text, right? It's not very difficult, but just a hassle. So they had a tweet just saying like, oh, forZe did something not according to our agreement, tried to get our players. It's very bad. We're calling them out right now. And people are like, oh, what the fuck is going on? A lot of speculation, which players are going, like, why is this even an issue? Then we kind of went back and found that there was this alleged meeting between CIS teams trying to set some ground rules for trading players, selling players within the region. So we presume that that is what they're referring to. And then later it turned out that that was just all a big misunderstanding. And because forZe clarified that they were approaching an academy player from Team Spirit, which they thought was a free agent, but he wasn't a free agent. So they withdrew from that situation. And I think they even apologized. And now everyone's friends again. And not a single CIS player is ever going to be sold.
Do they live by different rules over there? Like the way that they
Seems like it, yeah.
We don't have like poaching rules in Counter-Strike, right? Like if I wanted to go talk to a guy who was under contract and try and make SPUNJ's super team, I'm not going to get in trouble from Valve. ESL aren't going to, well, I don't know, maybe ESL would give a fuck because it means I probably wouldn't be casting. But like, you know, there's no rules like that here. It's not League of Legends. Like I know in League of Legends, the poaching rules are like a really big deal and it's looked down upon. So do they have like some kind of agreement in the CIS region where they're like going to keep their hands off each other? Does anybody know?
Well, there's that meeting that Prof was kind of talking about, which happened something like a year and a half ago. It kind of got reported by, I think DK was one of the main people who reported on it at the time. We never really heard anything official about it or what came out of that meeting or anything like that, but it was meant to be something about player transfers and kind of like an agreement between the big CIS orgs like forZe, like NAVI, Virtus.pro, whatever Spirit, right? Some of those names were meant to be there. I don't know who actually was there or if it even took place or what was even discussed there. I think nobody knows it really, but we assume that's where like these things come from essentially, because Spirit said something about that they publicly made a commitment to not do whatever they did, right? So so that's that was the funny part about it. We just don't know what the actual understanding between those teams is, because the rest of the world just doesn't function that way, right? Like we never know what's happening in the CS region. People just, it's almost funny to me because I thought the CIS region was exactly the opposite way. Like there's no rules there. It's just like either like you're just completely in jail and you just can't get out of your contract, or like it's all free market, right? Like that's kind of how I see the CIS region, but apparently not. But apparently there are some rules.
Yeah, okay. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit of a mystery. Maybe we'll see what happens in the future if somebody gets poached to NAVI. It's actually, it probably won't go that way. It'd probably Manasi getting poached from the NAVI Academy. I don't think you'll ever get. That's the question people ask, right? Have you guys seen that question going around on the forums about Manasi about, oh, you know, he should go to a tier 1 team, whatever. Now, whether or not he can like compete at that level, I'm pretty sure he should be able to. But like, does it feel like he's locked there forever? I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but we have more freedom tonight. It feels like.
I mean, I guess it depends on how reasonable NAVI are, right? Like we think that they're this like big org and they should be reasonable with their contracts, but then again, like it's the CIS region. Sometimes like those contracts are really, really unreasonable. I don't want to throw NAVI under the bus because I just don't know, right? Like I haven't seen their contracts or anything like that. I would assume that it shouldn't be like some like extra ridiculous amount that you pay for ZywOo to get ZywOo out of a contract with Vitality. I assume it's maybe like in the hundreds of thousands, because of how big of a talent Monacy is and how big like he's hyped up and stuff like that. Maybe that's the case, right? But it shouldn't be like some fucking 3 million like unbelievable amount, right? So because he is playing for an academy team, he probably doesn't have a salary that would justify that sort of a buyout, right? But that's the question, right? How reasonable are NAVI and how they're like valuing their players and actually giving them something in return for it.
All right, let's move swiftly on. I think we're done with the CIS for now. Well, actually, we're going to dive back into CIS a little bit. Lucas, I'm going to give you a link here. You can just bring this up. This is the completed list for the fall showdown, which is going to be taking place once we're done here with the RMRs. So the two new names to this list are Heroic and Virtus Pro. Is that the only additions that we're looking at here, Prof?
Yeah, I mean, we did have like a team replacement, which was Vici,
right? Oh,
yeah,
Vici?
Vici qualified for the event, but they're not going. They're focusing on IEM Fall, IEM Fall Asia, so they can qualify for the major potentially, which they have pretty good chance. They just have to outplace Tailu. So Lin Vision came in, but that's completely irrelevant. They're playing G2 in the first game. I mean, it's relevant maybe because they said they're going to be boot camping for a couple of weeks. They're going to be in Belgrade with the rest of the gang. 9Z is over there as well. So that's just a interesting trivia. But yeah, Heroic and Virtus Pro are in, and the biggest news is Gambit is not in. So they're not going to be at the event. They're not going to be at the fall finals, which are after the major, and should be like a big LAN in Copenhagen. And that's kind of interesting.
Would that be because
yeah.
they're already qualified for the World Finals, you think?
So I did ask people to figure out what happened, and it seems like it was a half that they maybe thought their schedule was going to be different than what it was, so they maybe didn't want to go, but at the same time things changed in the meantime, and then it was too late to go back on that thing. So that's why Virtus Pro came in instead of Heroic. It wasn't that Blast didn't want to invite them, even though this Showdown series was pretty weird and didn't have any CIS qualifiers, so we didn't really have a chance to have Virtus Pro and Gambit, for example. Like either team could have gotten an invite. Heroic was obviously going to be one of them, so it's kind of a weird situation with this season.
Yeah, this list starts to look a little bit more interesting when you see like the performance that Fiend have had here so far, right? Maybe they're able to go for a decent run, right? I guess they'll probably be versing Heroic in the second round. They have to get past Loba first, but let's assume. And then what else are we looking at here? So I think the
like
Movi...
Dignitas, who still did pretty reasonably well, right? Like
yeah.
Movistar.
I'm trying to say Movistar because that's the way they want me to say it, Striker. I don't want to upset
because
the
like
Spaniards.
I've heard even Spaniards say Movistar. So
oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of confused about the whole thing as well.
I think it's just the accent. It should be Movi.
Okay.
It's not a movie brand. It's like a mobile phone brand.
Okay.
Right.
I get so scared when I fuck things up. Like I really try to do my best pronouncing stuff, but some things I literally just can't. Like I interviewed Roy today, and I was like, Roy, like that's how you say your name, right? And he was like, well, no, you say it like this. And then I was like, all right, you're cool with Roy though. He's like, yeah. I can't do that. And Zyphon was there as well. I'm like, Zyphon, that's really easy, right? And he's like, he said it, and I'm like, Lucas, can you say it for everybody at home? Hey, is he here, Lucas? How do you say Zyphon in Danish?
I'm scared of saying it wrong now.
Just say it.
Siphon.
That was close. He said it quicker, and I couldn't keep up. I was like, yeah, okay. So Zyphon's fine. Yeah, he was like, yeah, that's cool. So we worked it out. They have. It's just some of this stuff, man. And that's the thing. Like, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but yeah, okay. Going back in on this Blast Premier stuff for the Fall Showdown, only 2 of these teams make it through to the arena, right? This is how this works. Now, for Heroic, this is great because they might get the opportunity to play in front of a Danish crowd. I'm sure that's what they're going to be budding for here. But we're going to dig into this again next week, I assume, right, boys?
Yep, maybe, probably, yeah.
Seems like the right time. Yeah, there's no point talking about it now. Like it's 8 days away, and we have some more important stuff in the meantime.
Sure. All right. So we will come back to this a little bit later on. We can talk more about the World Finals and all that stuff there. But excited to have that arena event for Blast going down soon. Okay. So I read this. I just read the headline, another one of these here, because I didn't read into it because I thought to myself, if Tommy is involved in this at all, 9Z are fucked. But basically, it's to do with the Immortals Gaming Club, MIBR, announcing legal proceedings against 9Z. Does anybody want to do the TLDR for this? Because I don't know what the legal... Is it over a player, I would assume?
I think, yeah. It's like super short. Mayern, who was a Wonder Kid that joined MIBR, then went on to join 9Z on a transfer and is now no longer playing at that team or is loaned somewhere. He joined on an alleged fee, not alleged, I guess it is a fee of $35,000 or euros, but that fee never got paid to MIBR / Immortals Gaming Club, apparently. And 9Z are saying that there were some issues. It's like Argentina, Brazil, blah blah, and essentially they want to sue them for the money and damages and whatever. I just found that kind of funny.
9Z aren't a big org though, right? Like,
not definitely, but
are you going to
I think
bankrupt these guys?
Tommy's kind of comment to the Certa was like they want to, get out the bad actors from the scene and clear up the mess. But they should maybe start with their own team if they want to clear up the mess. Just an idea. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's more result-wise, right? It's not nothing. I'm sure Tommy's paying the bills. I'm sure he's not fucking around where money's involved. That's the thing. When Tommy and money are involved, like that's a conversation. There's certain people who have certain things in this industry. You just go, okay, if that guy's saying it, I'm not even gonna fuck it. Like when I saw it, I was like,
I mean,
well,
yeah, they probably have the right. I'm not even gonna doubt that they have the legal rights to do something like that. It's just I found it kind of funny for such a big org to like with all of the issues that they have. They should probably focus on those first. I'm not saying they can't do both, but it's just they're not in a great place right now.
Sure. Okay. All right. We can move past this one, and we can get into Lyngby Vikings unveiling Trace as a coach. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, everybody, like you need to know that Trace was a legend of the 1.6 days MTW. He even tried to play a little bit of CS:GO, but obviously
a couple of times.
Yeah, he's one of the older boys, so it didn't really take on off. And you would considering how big Danish Counter-Strike is, that maybe he could have found a home there. But now with him as a coach, it's going to be interesting to see what he can bring and maybe just how much he can offer here. But didn't he used to play with Pitta a long time? Pita Pitta.
No, I think you're.
I don't think
you're placing.
I'm trying to remember a fnatic roster with him.
No, he played in SK. He played with
he did in the. He did play in fnatic as well at the beginning of CS:GO.
Yeah, true, but he was Peter. No,
I
don't remember. But they actually played together at that time. It's kind of hard to remember. It was like that was like the ZipX version, right? There's Modi, ZipX Freeze, Trace Kerrigan. I just found one version. Maybe that wasn't the first one, possibly. Well, let me see the first one actually. There's Ritter. Oh yeah, Ritter was there at some point.
Okay. But my ancient
there's no Pita apparently.
Well, Halvor's in chat, and we trust Halvor for like these really niche facts from sports and Counter-Strike. He said they might have played together in an early fnatic CS:GO roster with Ritter. That's the thing. I feel like I saw it, but maybe I'm wrong. Like super early days. Anyway, that's not the point. The point here is he's the coach of the team. He's a legend of the past, and it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be added to. Because Lyngby Vikings, look, they're not necessarily a name on everybody's radar, but these Danish kids, man, you just have a look at what the Copenhagen Flames guys are doing. We're going to talk about that soon. I don't know what's in the water over there or why Danish Counter-Strike is like this, but it's very scary. This is the team with Bird from Sky. That's
Bird
right.
Sky.
Yes, yeah. And
AKA God from Sky in the tier 3 scene. Apparently, that's how people call him on Twitter.
God from Sky.
I really like that, Nick. I mean, this is literally Lyngby Vikings and God from Sky is a team that when I was coaching the Croatian team in 2017-18, this was a team that we were losing to all the time and like a couple of rounds before HLTV, and then they maybe beat us and then lose in the next round. That was kind of the status that they were on like 3 years ago, but they kept grinding, changing players like 2 or 3. I don't know how many of them are left except him in the team. Then they went international. They had like NATO Safix. They had all of these different players. And this is the first time I think they broke into the top 30. This is shortly after they got Trace as the coach, and they got Wolfie, who's like a Swedish-American player that just left North America and is like, okay, I'm Swedish now. Please accept me on the old continent. And he's doing quite well, honestly.
Okay, nice. All right, well, we don't need to spend too much time on this. Let's get into the fun stuff, shall we? Striker, you ready?
Let's go. I don't know what we're getting into, but
we're getting into who wants to be a skinionaire, right? Pretty quickly here. So we're gonna have a. Sorry, what was that, Lucas? Okay, write Bitskins in chat to enter giveaway. Thank you, Lucas. So tonight, because we don't have a special guest, Striker's going to be the one answering the questions here. So Prof has prepared these. I'm going to read them blind, and you all are going to be in the opportunity to win some skins, right?
The
so let's
fifth
see.
one will blow your mind.
Will blow your mind. Is it exclamation point Bitskins, Lucas? Or is it just Bitskins? Okay, no exclamation point, guys. Or it doesn't matter? Okay, all right, type whatever the fuck you want. Anyway, let's get into who wants to be a skinionaire with Striker.
Where's the link? Oh, here we go.
Question number 1, Lucas. Get it up. Get it ready. What player has the biggest price tag in the IEM Fall NA fantasy game? Oh, Jesus.
Oh my god.
Is it A. Elige, B. OC, or C. Jorge Snorts?
I think
Look,
it's George.
George?
Snorts.
George?
George Snorts.
I would assume because of
George
the
Snorts.
all right,
I
because
thought
of
it
the
was-
prices being kind of like adjusted for like team ranking and stuff
Yikes.
like that, it shouldn't be the last one. Even if it has like some crazy rating, it should be like one of the other two. I feel like this was a bait that Prof almost wanted me to go for, but I'm not going to. So
20
I feel like you're still
seconds.
going
I'm
for
trying
the
to
bait.
remember. I'm gonna go with Elige. I think I'm just gonna go kind of like a safe route. I honestly have no idea, so I'll
This
just
could
go
be wild.
with a guess.
Oh,
Okay.
dear. Out the gates, Prof's done you like that. That was the first question. OC was the correct answer.
Such
Oh,
a
dear.
destroy
Okay.
double bait.
Well, we
Double
know what
bait.
type. We know what type of fucking quiz questions we're in for here. That set the bar extremely high. Okay. Fuck. Question number 2. Oh dear. In which team is One for the Future Mayan playing currently? Is it A. Furious, B. Isurus, or C. 9Z? Fuck. What have you done to him, Prof?
What are you doing to me, man? Because like he's switched like 3 times, right? Like in the past, whatever it is.
That didn't go live, I hope.
I hope that didn't go out to our viewers.
Okay.
Well, it
30
used to be
seconds.
it used to be Astralis, and it used to be 9Z, and I'm trying to remember if he's not in 9Z, right? It's Furious.
No, I don't think he's in 9Z.
I'm gonna go with Furious because I have like 3 different periods kind of like in mind about Mayern, but I'm gonna go with Furious.
Okay, lock in Furious, Lucas. Reveal the answer.
It is not my
What?
This is incorrect. I don't
Okay.
know who put it.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
I don't know
Lucas.
who put
He got
this.
that one
It
right.
is
I was gonna
Furious.
say if he was in
Okay.
9Z, that means I didn't do my homework well at all. Okay,
Yeah,
that one's
exactly,
correct,
because, like,
everybody.
I wasn't
Stay
sure if he
calm.
wasn't benched there or something like that, so I was just like,
All right. Next one. Question number 3. We're currently at 1-1 in the answers. Question number 3 is a clip of SPUNJ eating something during a break surfaced this week on Twitter. What was it?
oh yeah, I know that. I saw the toast with ketchup. It wasn't even just on. Oh yeah, actually, it was on Twitter where I saw it. I thought I saw it on stream or something like that, but it was
Yeah.
on Twitter. It was toast with ketchup.
That one's correct. It was just bread, but look, we can go with toast. It was fine. It was literally just bread with
But
ketchup.
with ketchup.
Yeah. But that's
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, and it's delicious. You guys should try it at home. It's action packed with sugar. Has to be white bread. Doesn't work with any other kind. All right. Question number 4. Oh, who has won the most MVPs? Gambit in 2021, Simple in 2019 and 2020, and Device in 2018. Oh shit.
It's not gonna be Gambit. I think at least Device surely has more in 18 alone. I think it's not Gambit. I think it's either Simple or Device. Because Gambit could have had what, maybe 6?
But what was Navi's year like last year?
I'll say the Gambit does have 6.
6. I think 6 was kind of like the number that I just popped into my head. Not that I knew, I was just like a ballpark. Device must have had how many? They won like 10 lands in 2018, I think, Astralis. So, and Device had most of those. So I would say he has more. He had more in 2018. Simple 19 and 20. They were. I'm gonna go with Device. I think it's Device. I'm not sure because Simple didn't
These are
have
so
that many. I
hard.
think
This is
in
actually
2019.
I'll say that I got this one wrong as well because I looked at the wrong year because Device is correct. Yes. Yes, 7. This is my bad. I think the last one was Lucas's bad. I think he wrote down the wrong
There
answer.
you go.
This is correct.
We
Let's
can
move
share
on.
the blame. Okay, well, 2 correct. No, 3 correct so far.
3.
Okay,
I
so
did
only one.
everything.
Only one wrong.
incorrectly. I'm the only one to blame.
Okay, and the final question here. Oh dear. The final question of the night for the $15 skin. Question 5. In the cult hit song, Jonathan E. Removed My Band. What is stopping Country God from returning to the forums on an alt? Is it A, internet scrolling, B, users trolling, or C, snitches reporting?
Okay, I'm sorry, but I just don't know. I didn't see this. Like, I saw you link this, and I didn't click on it because I was like, whatever, I don't really care. So I didn't actually see it. I mean,
Maybe it is admin is ignoring them.
Well, can I give him this one?
go
Might be
ahead.
the-
Just help me out with that
I'm
one.
pretty sure it's snitches reporting.
This is reporting. Okay,
I'm
I'll
pretty
just-
sure.
I'll just lock
I'm
it in
not
because I have no idea. I
100%
didn't see
sure.
that video.
I mean, you should. You
It's
should.
great. You should definitely watch it. I recommend for every. There you go.
There we go.
Snitches. Okay, so we salvaged this. We get away with 4. Striker, good stuff. All right. So who's our lucky winner, Lucas? I'm going to give you a drum roll, please. They were bloody hard, Prof.
Yeah, they were.
They were really hard. All
I mean,
right.
the first one, yeah, was 50-50 for me. Whatever.
Okay. The
First one was pretty easy though.
The winner of the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire presented by Bitskins giveaway is, well, not giveaway, quiz, is mega_mind with 2 I's. That's MIIND. See, I got spelling something in. You can't stop me, Prof.
Actually, it would be amazing if Albania is AK-47 country god won this. I'm just gonna say, I don't think he's been on Twitch, so maybe he can join us here sometimes.
Wait, is Megamind still in the chat? Well, he wins anyway. Megamind, if you're not here, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens. He's here? Okay. Because I searched, I did at Megamind, I couldn't see him. But either way, Megamind, congratulations. And well, that's going to conclude the recent news. So we've run the bumper, we've done the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, and we're only half an hour into the show. Boys, this is actually happening. We're actually flying through it. I didn't think this was going to happen, but it's happening.
Then
And,
again, we haven't really talked about anything like interesting whatsoever. So
yeah, that's true. Well, I guess let's get into the interesting stuff right here. Okay. We're going to jump into talking about the IEM Fall EU side of things.
Do we have a
okay.
break now? No.
No, I think we just keep going, right, Lucas?
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay, all right. There's no stopping. There's no stopping this train. Now, a big one that we want to get into here is obviously to do with the format, the schedule, and all the stuff around that, because that's really had the majority of the conversation around this, right? Is first of all the best of ones in the round robin, and second of all, it's quite clear that a lot of people out there who are watching at home, a lot of people who are even playing in these games, uncertain of the ramifications of the RMR system. So I think that kind of just out the gates here, it's a combination of the two, right? A format that is confusing at the best of times with a format that is brand new and that people have no idea how it operates. And I think that has been such a big cause and a big headache for a lot of the scrutiny that's been going on. But I just want to remind people with the RMR, this has been happening now for the better part of 2 years, right? We have to go back to early 2020 when the RMRs were introduced, and we were all made very aware back then that this was a point system, and that's the way that teams were going to be able to qualify for the next major. We moved away from the format that was to do with minors and 8 teams as the legends securing themselves a spot within the next major. We moved away from that, right? And I think moving away from the 8 teams locking themselves in from the next major is actually a good change, right? And that's one of the changes that a lot of people wanted, because just because you were a top 8 at the last major doesn't necessarily mean you're a top 8 Counter-Strike team going into the next major, right? So having teams vie for those spots and show that leading into an event, they're the best teams out there, right? That was the goal of the RMR. Now, obviously, we had the whole online situation, which has made this a lot more difficult. This is the first RMR within those 2 years that has been run on LAN. And I'm curious if having these events on LAN the entire time would have seen different point distributions for the earlier RMR events that we've had. But some of the things that I kind of want people to consider with all of this is the reason that I think that we have multiple RMR events is several-fold. But 2 of the key ones for me is to make sure that we have the most recent teams who are the best being able to qualify, right? Like if the first RMR at the start of the year took place and now the team that won it was shit, right? They just weren't good, then that would show. So we're kind of ironing out outliers, right? Like Akuma is an outlier. We ironed out Akuma as an outlier. They did good in the previous CIS RMR, but in this one, they didn't do good. Well, they didn't do good in the Starladder one either. So we ironed out that inconsistency. This is where I think it falls apart. And I wouldn't mind hearing from you here, Striker, because obviously you spent so much time trying to deal with this to see how confusing it was. But this is just qualifiers, I think, that people are conflating with being a standalone event where teams should qualify, right? These are several qualifiers. So there's a confusion there as well, right?
yeah, I mean, for sure. I guess the problem with that is that like the points, there are so many more points now on offer compared to the previous one. And also the system, I think, is different because I think the last one was all 16 teams got points or something like that. I might be wrong in that, but I think it was something like that as well. And so like basically like you get so much more points that if like the from the first RMR teams who did like reasonably well and then they don't do anything now, they're basically out, right? Even though like they could be like just on the brink, right? Like let's say they play top 12 now, that's still top half, but they get nothing for it. Like they technically played reasonably well, but they didn't actually get anything for it to get a little bit of a bump on top of what they got in the first set, right? So I think that's where like the biggest problem stems from, because there was such a big gap. There's now so many more points compared to the previous one that it just matters so much more. And like to a degree, it obviously like it should be that way to a degree, just because you want to favor the most recent results, because that's like the most accurate that you can get in terms of like who's actually good now, and that makes sense for qualification. But because of the second one got skipped, like the sample size is so small, and the second one is kind of like so much more important, that it kind of skews things towards the the quote unquote fluky teams who only did well at this one last one, right? Like if you look at the 4 teams that obviously made it to the playoffs, and we definitely didn't expect them, and they didn't do anything the previous RMR, but already have a chance to go to the major, right? Just with a top 8 finish here. So that's where I think the problem lies, like because of the points distribution and because of there not being a second event for like more of the consistency factor to come in.
Yeah, I think that is obviously a problem with the European side of things, right? Now we always like, well, at least we've seen upsets in major qualifiers before, right? I want people to understand this. This isn't like an anomaly within itself. Like, I'm going to go ancient history again for everybody, because people seem to have short memories. But when I qualified for majors back in the day, right, Katowice 2015, we had to qualify as an Australian team against European teams. Do you think anybody thought that Vox Eminor was going to be a favorite against Dignitas and I'm sorry, Natu, 3D Max, right? Did anybody think that we were going to beat those teams and qualify for the major in that? No, they didn't, but then we did, right? And this is the thing. This event. We know that Europe is the most stacked region. That's why it has 24 teams in attendance here, because we know the disparity between the number one, right? Sure, they're really, but then as you go down, it gets harder and harder to define who's 3 and 4, who's 6 and 7. Like that becomes really, once you get down to the point of like from 16 to 24, Jesus Christ, like you could put those guys and play each other all the time, right? It's going to get difficult. Now, there's obviously better solutions we could have had, right, Prof? Right? There's definitely better solutions.
Yes.
But what do you think? Because we haven't had everybody qualify just yet, right? It's not locked in.
So far, like the teams that qualified so far, I'll just read you the list.
Bring up Lucas to bring up here. There we go.
I can. Yeah, PGL Major Stockholm. So number 1 in the world, NAVI. Number 2 in the world, Gambit. Number 3 in the world, Vitality. Number 4 in the world, G2. Number 5 in the world, Heroic. Now number 5, they were like number 6, FaZe, dropped down a bit lower. Okay, but they still have a chance. So number 5, Heroic. Number 6, NIP. Number 8, Astralis. Number 9, Virtus Pro. Number 14, Spirit. This is now CIS, right? Number 17, Entropiq. And then the 2 minor regions, Renegades and the Sharks, which are, their ranking is not important, of course, because they can't really climb the rankings anyway. So far, this is 12 of the 24 teams. Pretty good lineup, right? I think we could say pretty good. We can still get a couple of these, like FaZe, the team that's missing, Big, OG.
Big, yeah.
Yeah, Complexity is definitely out. Fnatic is out,
Liquid.
but they're not really good. Liquid is probably a team that's going to qualify from NA. So overall, I think we'll probably get out of the top 20, still get 16 teams, right? We'll probably get 16 out of the top 20 teams. That's still pretty likely. So I don't think that is that is going to be bad. I think the result is going to be bad, just because, of course, when we look at the playoffs here, where we have like 4 underdog teams and 4 favorites into the, out of the 8 in the playoffs, that is kind of crazy to see. And there's a lot of things that we can talk about the format, but saying that everything's ruined, it's not. Saying the best of ones are going to ruin everything and round robin, it's also really not the case. Maybe it's gonna get some random results. There is going to be 1 or 2 teams that went through that maybe someone else would have if everything was best of 3, but it's not the end of the world. I think what I also tweeted about, that like people not understanding not people, but players actually not understanding what the match means and calling out the players and the organizations. This isn't that much about, oh, you guys are stupid, what the fuck, you should know this. This is about, if you're going into a match like OG did against Mad Lions, for example, thinking that if they don't win, they're not going to the major, you're essentially putting so much unnecessary pressure on yourself. And then as the coach, as the manager of the team, as whoever is working in the organization, you're failing there. Like, you're building unnecessary pressures on your players that can like play like a normal game. And even if they lose, OG still have not even a small chance. They have a decent chance to go through anyway. You should know that before going into the game. That just like, okay, maybe if shit starts going bad, as it did for them, like losing 7-0, I think, on CT side, nuke.
Yeah.
Then they can like, okay, like if we lose, we still have a good chance. Just let's just chill, right? I think that's a big failure on them, because at that point, I know it's complicated. I would not be able to figure out these things myself. I mean, I would, but it would take so much time and I'd be super frustrated. But there are people that understand it. There's literally an article on this website called HLTV. I know you all visit it. Just click on it. You go down to OG. You read like 3 paragraphs. You understand what's going on. I think that's a massive failure for some of these like teams to not understand these things. Of course, you can say that the format is shit, that everything's complicated, but RMRs as RMRs will always be complicated. Like, we didn't get to this point last year where we had people qualifying for the major because we knew that the major is not going to happen before we got to this. So no one really cared about these things. Some points here and there were delivered, but people didn't really know what it even means. No one really cared, so we didn't focus on these things. But if we had a different format of the tournament, we'd still get very similar things. Maybe it wouldn't be so complicated because we have RMR, and then on top of the RMR, we have on top of the round robin, we have the RMR. So we have implication inside of the round robin group, another round robin group that has implications on this group, and another one. And then we also have the RMR points, which all add together. So that, of course, is confusing. It is. I'm not a fan of it, but it's not. If you're a pro player, you should know these things. You really should know these things. There's no going around it.
Well, we know that pro players usually don't have the best grasp on formats, right?
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah,
right?
but they don't have to. They just need someone to tell them, like, this is the situation. We need to win. If we don't win, we have, let's say, 20%, 30, 50, 70%. Well, let's just give like a ballpark of going through. Or do we have to rely on other people fucking up, or is it in our hands? Those are like 3 parameters that a player needs to know, and that's it.
Yeah, I think another point here on this, like, I saw a lot of people critiquing the MR3 overtime. Yeah, but the thing is, without, sounding like a no, actually, I'm not going to. I'm really calm tonight. I don't have anything to worry about. Without that, it would have been round difference. Tell me what you'd prefer, right? Because I give you a hot tip of what I prefer. They at least get to fight for their ability, right, to take that spot, which, if it was done on the mainstream, right, and we could have all the attention that we would like to have, it could be hype as fuck. Like, think about how cool that could be, right? But it's obviously confusing because we're not used to it, right? We're not used to that, have it coming down to that. And because of the ramifications for everybody's favorite team, it's like, oh no, this is shit. Well, no, it's better that happened, because what would have happened was we would have gone back to round difference between these teams, which can usually be map dependent, right? Like, if you start CT side and you can just fucking slam it. And that's a problem in itself. So we're lucky that we had these tiebreakers to actually try and determine these, because teams on their merit, even though it was just a best of one environment, were still able to play for the position, as opposed to not being able to do so. So it's the best of a bad situation, but it's still better than what we had, right? So I think we need to count our lucky stars a little bit there as well. But do we want to? We can break this up into a couple different buckets, right? We can talk about, first of all, the RMR system as a whole, or we can talk about just the ESL round robin system. Actually,
I think we talk about ESL first, and then we can lift up to RMR.
I can start us off this way, right? Which is that no matter what format would have been used, the RMR implications on top of that would have made things confusing either way. Like, yes, maybe not as confusing as they were now because of, like, if you, for example, if all these teams were in just like a double elimination format, it would have been relatively simple. Like, this team has to, as long as this team doesn't place this high, this team has to place this high to qualify, right? But it's still like, it's so like cross-reference heavy and stuff like that. Very like other team dependent. It's not just like you place this high and you make it. For some teams it is, yeah, of course, but not for everybody, right? So like, because of how complicated it is and reliant on other teams' results and stuff like that, it doesn't matter what you would choose. Like, if you had a Swiss system, but between these 24 teams, if let's say there was 32, then like it would be the same thing. Like you'd still be looking at like what wait, if this team has to do this badly for my team to still have a chance if they do this well, right? Like it would still be really fucking complicated either way. So it doesn't matter. Like round robin, yes, it introduced a little bit more confusion in regards to how teams can even go to like a certain placing and stuff like that. Yes, it made things more confusing, but not a lot more compared to like any other format.
I see some people in chat obviously talking about the schedule here. Now, obviously, I'm an ESL shill, and you know that I
Disclaimer.
yeah, no, like, but I do definitely when like a lot of the stuff that people will jump up and down about, like I'll maybe be a little bit more like tapered on because maybe I understand like the reason why it happened, or maybe I have a little bit of inside info on like, oh, this is the decision making. But then when stuff's shit, like I'm more than happy to say when stuff's shit, right? Like that's no
You've
drama.
called out ESL in the past, like that's no secret.
Yeah, and I like people aren't going to think that, right? Because they're going to have their own biases and stuff, and that's fine, right? This is all good. I understand how this game works, and that's fine. I get it. But ESL think about the other RMR events that we had in the lead up to this. You guys remember the Epic League one?
Let's just say like that was one of the arguments that the biggest problem is that ESL is running everything. Like literally, were you born yesterday? Did you not see the last couple of RMRs that we had? There's so many problems, and one of them was inconsistencies and stuff like that, like Summit using one rule set for giving up RMR points, having invites, and then the other tournament not having that. There are a lot of issues with that. So let's not just like collectively have, I don't know, just like the Man in Black thing. We don't remember anything that was going on. There are a lot of issues. So having a proven tournament organizer to run it, I think overall is good. Could it maybe been done differently? So we have more focus on this and that. Maybe, but there's very little time to do all of these things. And I think overall the job has been done pretty well. Of course, the schedule thing, I will not go into the why it had to start so late. I think that was kind of bullshit. Like for no particular reason did we have like CIS starting at, I don't know, 2 or 3 p.m. when they could literally start at 10 a.m.
I think it was because of the
Oceania.
Oceania.
But they
stuff.
had like one game there.
Yeah.
I don't see how that is super.
They could have definitely started those matches at different times, which could have meant that the CIS games could have gone a little bit more forward. No, I think that the game's running like
after midnight. That is dumb. I agree.
I agree. I don't like working after midnight either. When I'm sitting there and it's like 12 o'clock and we're in a game and I want to be hyped and excited about something, but you know, even though I tried to turn my sleeping pattern around, I can sympathize with the players. They're doing a job that's much harder than mine, right? And I know that it fucking sucks, like having to be there and trying to do your job to the best of your ability. Well, they're competing to get into the biggest event, right? The scheduling thing, I can definitely sympathize with it. And considering as well, the fact that they had that agreement with the CSPPA, and then it's still like that right there is just like the cherry on top of the fucking cake with all of it, right? It's like, okay, so we agreed upon this, but you know, there's delays happen, so it's all good. Like,
I mean, they still like obviously things kind of went fucked in CIS, and that was a big reason why at least the first 3 days in Europe went as badly as they did. Like they should not have gone that badly. It's just like CIS really taking forever, like multiple games going to overtimes and stuff like that in one of those days, and like all of those close games that were like in the first couple of days especially, like that just fucked everything
but I think that is
over the line essentially
bound to happen. Like when you do tournaments, you know that if the last game of the day is starting like 10:45 and you have like 8-9 games before that, that is not going to start at 10. It's not going to start at 10. It's going to start.
It never does.
11:30 earliest. It's not going to start before that. So it's going to go after midnight. It's obviously going to go after midnight. And that sucks. Like I'm a guy that also likes to go to bed at like 11 now. So I was just like not watching. Even if I was watching, it was like zombie mode watching. It's not that I super enjoy it to watch a game until 1 a.m. these days. Boomer time.
There was another thing that stuck out for me, like as well as the schedule, but the complaints about the best of ones. Now, look, I understand that the Counter-Strike, right? This is, guys, I really need to get something through to everybody's fucking head for a second. Now, I said I wasn't going to rant. I'm going to rant a little bit. The last major that we had best of ones. It did. For different stages in the major, it had best of ones. The Katowice major before that had best of ones. The majors that I played in had best of ones where the last 3 maps were randomized to decide which map you were going to play on, right? So just because everybody at home is so used to this standardized thing of playing and think that that's the way it'll... It hasn't been that way. You're fucking fooling yourselves if you think it's been that way forever. And not only that, here's the deal. At what point do we need to go, okay, best of ones are acceptable? There is an open qualifier for everybody to play in. Oh, yo, fuck, we can't have single elimination best of one games there. There's like a million fucking teams. We have to start at some point. At one point, the format needs to be manageable, right? The format has to taper upwards and be manageable. Best of ones as well. Go back and look at the majority of these games. There was definitely some upsets. Look at the fucking CIS with Indy Ray, right? Those motherfuckers, how the hell did they top their group? They still didn't qualify for the major, right? We ironed out those outliers. But this is the thing, like these games, I'm watching them. Like when I watched G2 get upset, sorry, I didn't watch G2 get upset. Who did I watch get upset? When Sinners, I forget which game it was.
Heroic, maybe?
Forgot which game it was.
Or Complexity.
Maybe it was Complexity.
Complexity
got
Sinners,
outplayed. Yeah. Complexity got outplayed. When I watched FaZe lose on Mirage against Fiend, they got
destroyed.
They got outplayed. They got out-aimed. They got owned. And they're on LAN. So what's your excuse now? Like, it's best of one. It was their best fucking... It's the FaZe's map. It's Mirage. Like... Guys, what more do we want to give them here, right? So when I see best of ones used as this talisman to be able to go target and say, these are all the problems. First of all, some of your teams, they legitimately lost. Second of all, there will be, in the past, there have been best of ones in majors. I'm going to hazard a guess. I don't know the major format. I'm going to hazard a guess and say there's going to be best of ones in the major format, right? Like I haven't had anything from PGL. I only got announced today on the talent roster. I only had confirmed with them very recently that I was even going to be working the major, right? So I don't have any information outside of that. Right? There will probably be best of ones in the major. What are you guys going to say in the major when your team loses the best of one?
Format. Why is the major only 2 weeks? Should be 4 weeks.
Should be the whole year.
No, there are a couple of these kind of ridiculous statements about, why is it only 2 weeks? Why is the qualifier for one region only 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Only 2 weeks. It's 2 fucking weeks on LAN. 24 fucking teams. Like this is legit the biggest LAN in terms of how many people are playing at the same time in top tier CS. I think maybe I'm wrong. But in terms of a LAN event that everyone's playing at the same time. I think you might be right,
actually.
And everyone's having their tournament and like hotel and everything paid by the organizer. I think we never had 24 teams playing at the same time. Like Copenhagen Games, maybe like some 1.6 stuff, but I don't think most of the things weren't that big. And when we have even when we had Cologne, we had the play-ins and then the main event. So this is fucking massive. This is a fucking massive event. This event that's going to last the same length as the fucking major.
Yeah,
like
true.
It can't be bigger than this. This is already unreasonably big. And we can move to the RMR thing kind of because this is the point I was thinking about, and maybe Striker, you can help me. Originally, the plan wasn't to have RMRs, it was to have MRs, right? Major ranking events, which would have all regions playing together. And we'd have a couple of these through the event. I think the top 8 still got invited directly from the past major into the new major or something like that. And then we had a couple of these major ranking events, something like, or maybe they just got a lot of points to start off with. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, the majors themselves were like one of the major ranking events essentially.
So essentially,
like they offer some
it was
points.
planned, I think, for 16 team events or maybe 24 team events to happen for the whole world a couple of times per year, and these would also be like a week-long events. This is not. The Valve doesn't want fucking major ranking events that have $50,000 prize pools for the best teams in the world to be the main events of the year. These are just ranking events. It doesn't make any sense for them to be bigger than Pro League, bigger than all of these things that people put in millions, have a great production, build this product for the whole year, like Blast, like any even Flashpoints, right? Why would they be bigger than these tournaments? It doesn't make any sense. It's just a tournament to decide like, okay, are you good enough to play the major? Not okay. I mean, 2 weeks. It's 2 fucking weeks. Plus the qualifiers, plus the close qualifiers. All of this shit is like 4 weeks long. It's a lot. I don't know. We can't have a bigger event than this. We can just do it better. We can maybe use a better format. Maybe we can use less teams on LAN. Maybe we can do some other things that we can talk about later. But I don't think making it bigger makes any fucking sense.
Yeah, you got any takes on this here, Striker?
No, I pretty much agree. Like people who say like the qualifier should run for a month. Like, I mean, we're fucking hell. Like, first of all, this was the second like qualifying tournament, so it's not like just one tournament, and then everybody goes to the major. That's
the
not
reason why we didn't have 3 RMRs, because we don't have space in the calendar. Like, why would we have 1 RMR that's going to last a month? We could have then had 2 RMRs. Problem solved. It would be amazing.
That's the best Thorin impression I've ever heard on this channel, by the way.
It wasn't that Thorin impression. So I
Okay,
don't know.
it kind of sounded like one.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. Well, look, I wanted to move into talking about what we could do better with RMRs, because this clearly needs some work, right? This clearly needs some work. But I want to set the groundwork for everybody at home to understand how this is not easy, guys. The reason I am going to get a little bit ranty, right? Because there's so much stuff that people don't seem to quite grasp within our scene that makes things a very big problem. Now, stop me, boys, whenever I hit a point here and I'm wrong, because I'm sure that I'll be wrong at certain points. But from my understanding, right, majors are open to everybody. That's the entire point of the major. And that's the way that Valve want to operate the majors. They need to be open to everybody. Every single player out there, a team that wants to be able to try and compete, should have an opportunity at some point to try and qualify. We now have 3 tournament organizers, 4 tournament organizers actually, ESL, Blast, Flashpoint, and it's the conglomerate. It's like the Relog, the what are they called?
Yeah,
They've got a name.
At least Champion of Champions, whatever
the group that group
tour I think is what the
So
Champion of Champions tour, I think.
All of those, right, have like partner teams. Okay, right. Now I need you guys to understand what that means. If you have partner teams in your event, it is more like an exhibition match than it is an open event like Valve want. Valve want to start at the top with this really, really wide funnel, and they want to come all the way down to the bottom that is the major, right? And then obviously the winner of the major. If you have all these different TOs who are running these events with partnered teams, right? What that means is it's not open for everybody to qualify with the same chances. And right there is our problem, because we cannot run the circuit as a year-long qualification for the major with that in mind. That just can't happen, because if you go to Blast and you get extra points that qualifies you further into the major, well, 8 of those teams automatically get points. 12 of those teams automatically get points just for being Blast teams. The 13 ESL partner teams automatically get points for being in ESL's events as well.
Just go watch the Devil Walk episode where he explains how Blast partner teams get more points in ESL than anyone else, and essentially keep them longer than anyone else, and why that's fucked. Those are the things that Valve doesn't want essentially to happen.
So if the TOs want to go that way, and I need to explain to you, I know that you guys all think that the TOs are evil, right? I know that you all think that at home. Oh, fuck the TOs, they're just trying to lock down the scene. The TOs are trying to make money. There's one party in all of this that doesn't make money, and it's the TOs. The players make money. I make money, right? The fucking teams are making money off of prize money and shit. The TO, right? HLTV.org, I'm pretty sure they're fucking making money.
Can't
right?
comment on that.
I'm pretty sure they're making money.
I know Per has said we have been profitable since, like, I don't know when.
Okay, so that's beautiful. All the FaZe, I'm pretty sure, is making money with their pug system, right? ESEA, probably not. Nobody plays on that, unfortunately. But all these things are making money, right? But the TO is not making money. So what's the TO trying to do to make money? They're trying to make deals with the partner teams so that those teams bring you, the viewer at home, to watch their tournaments. More views means they can sell that to sponsors. More sponsors means potentially more money coming in the door, right? Then they're doing rev share with the teams so that the teams can get something out of this too. So teams can get some more money. The TOs can try and get money because they have these things secured, right? We are not an open circuit right now. And that right therein lies the problem. So we have 2 choices as a community. We either need to come up with a better way to do the RMR system and try and wedge them into the calendar around these TOs. The TOs are the ones who are keeping the game alive while the majors aren't on. So as much as you hate them, as much as you say, fuck these guys for crowding the calendar, this is fucking shit, they are the ones who mean that we can watch Counter-Strike every single fucking day of our lives. And you might say it's oversaturated. You might say that. If you think it's oversaturated, I'll tell you what to do. Hit that little fucking X button and go do something else with your time, because that is the only way, if you think it's oversaturated, to make your point made. That's the only way. If you don't and you keep watching and you enjoy the content, it's not oversaturated, right? It's not. It's just not that. You wouldn't watch and the players wouldn't play if they really thought it was oversaturated. And if they are, right, the players, if they are just wanting to play and play and play to make as much money as they can, that's on them. That's a life choice, right? They get to make those decisions. They're part of teams that make those contracts, right? Those deals. That's also on them. Okay, so we've covered those things. I'm getting a little bit lost in my thoughts here, but we're getting there. We're almost there. I promise you that. Here are the two choices. Here are the two choices, everybody. One, we come up with a better way to do the RMR system, but I will put a plea out to all of you at home. I know there's some smart cookies out there, much smarter than I will ever be, who could work out a system that we could have in place with RMR points or points of a similar way that would be fairer for teams to qualify for the major, or even just different system altogether. I know there might be some smarter people out there. Or we come up with an entire system where we can work with Valve, with the players, with the TOs, with all of us to make sure that the entire year-long calendar of Counter-Strike turns out to be that funnel into the major, right? That's not easy. Prof and Striker, I showed them something that I was working on a while ago. I'm working on some ideas on how to try and make this happen, and I stopped. I stopped because I thought we were all past this bullshit, right? But we're clearly not. We need to be able to come up with a way to do this. So off the top of your head, Striker and Prof, and I'm putting you on the spot here, do either of you have a better idea of what we can do with the landscape that exists now that aren't RMRs?
Look, like in the ideal scenario, we'd use everything, right? Like we'd use just like every result that we have available to determine the teams at the next major, basically. But like obviously, what that comes with is the problems that you kind of outlined, right? Like not every team has the exact same opportunities because of the biggest tournaments having locked out a certain number of spots, right? So, and that's not due to merits, that's due to their partnerships. So that's not, obviously, as like just to reiterate what you said, that's not what Valve wants. Valve just want the best teams on merit to go to the major, right? And like, why wouldn't they? That you just want the best teams to be at your major. That's pretty much what everybody wants, right? So like the problem is, like, I just don't see a way outside of what we've already seen, right? Like during these RMR events, because we can't make current, like, already existing events RMRs because of these problems, because there are certain rules that need to be in place that make it as free as possible, make it as open as possible, and that's kind of like use only the RMR points as like invites to the main tier tournament or invites to the close qualifier and stuff like that. Like that's never going to happen in an ESL Pro League where 13 teams are meant to be partnered, in a Blast where 12 teams are partnered and don't even have anybody else coming in at the first stage and stuff like that. So like as much as I'm not a big fan of how it works now, I just don't see a better way at this point than like creating extra tournaments on top of what we already have to have these tournaments in.
What do you think about like a hybrid system? Because obviously we don't want to give RMR points to, let's say, Cologne, because Cologne has like 80% of the teams are invited based on ESL ranking, or like 50-60% based on like ESL partner teams, essentially. And even these that are not ESL ranking, but the ESL Pro Tour, which is easier for teams that are ESL partners to get, even though people will try to say that it's not, it is. So we don't want to give everyone points, because essentially some teams are like, a lot of teams are going to be there because they're partnered. But what if we only gave like points to the first team, or we only gave a direct invite to the major for a team for a couple of events per year, which could be Katowice, Cologne, could be like Blast Finals, could be, you know, a couple of these events. So instead of rewarding everyone, Valve just rewards the winner of a couple of massive events. So that could be like
Blast do with their World Finals.
Yeah.
Yes, like a similar style to that, and then still have the points that we have some of these RMR events, which would be essentially not for all of the top teams, but for like all of these that couldn't win that, and maybe a couple of these top 5, top 10 teams that didn't manage to qualify through this, or doesn't have enough points or like a ranking from the last major, something like that. Because ideally, if we go back into like normal land stuff, we'll have 2 majors per year, so we don't really have that much time to do all of this shit. So we should probably think of doing something a bit more streamlined that is a part of our normal system, because especially if Valve doesn't want to make armor tournaments, massive tournaments by prize pool, right? That is also something that needs to be taken into account. If fucking IEM CIS had a $500,000 prize, I'm sure that NAVI would really care about the grand final, even if it didn't have implications on the actual major, because Gambit and NAVI were both qualified at legend status. But if there was like $200,000-$300,000 on the line, they would care about it, right? So maybe there is system between that could be found. Of course, that implies that Valve would need to work with these TOs and kind of acknowledge them and some of these tournaments being big, which they do to some degree still, at least on social
They're getting
media.
better at it.
Oh, Cologne is going on. They tweeted a couple of things. So maybe we can get to that point. Maybe.
You guys remember what I ran you guys through? I think
it looked like Beautiful Mind or Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The meme.
Yeah,
that's
more or less
what it looked like.
Too good to be true in terms of like everybody playing friends with each other, right? Like that's just the problem.
But here's the thing, right? Like one of the key things that you just mentioned there, Prof, is one of the key things that all of this has to happen, right? Is that Valve have to help us more, right? Like they don't have to help us a lot more. We like that daddy went out to get cigarettes and he only sends checks home, once a year. We like that because we get to play. We get to do whatever we want. We get to make all these crazy good game modes, and FaZe get to make money off of having anti-cheat and a really booming pug service. And we like this, right? Because we don't have Riot there, right? We don't have the helicopter parent of Riot there going, no, don't do that, right? That's too fun, right? We don't have that. We have full reign, right? So one of the key things here, it's really important, right? It's really important that Valve help us a little bit more. And we don't want a lot more help. We just need a little bit more help. And right, for them to decide, I think I worked out the figures, and I've forgotten it, guys, because I focused on this a lot. Like a couple of months ago, I focused on this a lot. But the figures was like Valve in a year, if they were doing 3 RMR events and they were picking for the 6 different regions, and let's just assume that they were having to handpick different TOs for all the different regions. So you guys can do the maths, right? So that's 3 times 6. That's right. That's it. 3 times 6. 3 times 6 plus 2 majors, right? There might be more. There might be less, right? So my maths is really bad. So let's just say roughly about 20 events, right? That Valve have to be involved in like picking, right? Is that about right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's probably less because, like, as we were talking about before, with how the system should have worked in the first place before we got kind of relegated to regional tournaments, it should have been just 2 for the next major. So it should have been like the major and 2 more events, kind of deciding the teams at the next major. So
because it wouldn't be regional. That
was the plan, and I assume that's what we would go back to. But like maybe they just like the regions being separate because of how they used to deal with it with the minors, obviously, and stuff like that. But then again, like if you do this, then you create the problem of like you just lock in these regions into this amount of spots and they can't get out of it. So I think we would just, like, in an ideal world, we would get back to where everybody would qualify at the same time from all regions in one place in one tournament, not separately, because then like you can't, like if one region just gets better, like let's say NA, or worse, let's use NA as an example. Like at this point, NA probably doesn't really deserve 6 major spots outright, right? So, or whatever it is.
They got 5, I think.
5, right? There you go. Then, but you can't really know until you see maybe all 5 of them run in the last place or whatever, right? So, in any case, I think it was meant to be just 2 for everybody, right? In between.
Okay, so and then the third ranking event would count as the major, right? And we would just have to fit and that would be much more doable. But then we would also still need qualifiers for those events per region. Right? So it would still come into play. Now, boys, humor me here. I have this stuff I found. I just dug through my Google Drive. Can you humor me here? I can quickly run through this with the people at home, maybe.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Oh my God. I wanted to make sure I had this all done properly, but I haven't done it properly. So we're going to run through it and it's going to be shit, but here we go. Lucas, can you bring this up? I've shared you the thing for my Google Drive here. So I want to run everybody at home through a concept I had, and there's a couple of things that are really important when keeping this concept in mind. The first thing is we want to incentivize tournament organizers to move away from franchise/partner team models, right? We want them to want to opt into this. The second is the thing we were just talking about with wanting Valve to be more hands-on. So on the screen right now in front of you is a spreadsheet. I'm also going to bring up a calendar in a second here as well. Now, there's a lot of elements to this, guys, so I apologize if we end up all over the place, but in my head, it kind of makes sense. So I based a lot of this stuff off of things that already exist within our calendar years of Counter-Strike. Now, as you can see here, if we start at the top, you can see major, 2 of them a year, 24 teams per event. The event is 3 weeks. Now, that can be 2 weeks, like what we're doing for this next one, right? That the duration can change. These things are just things that I was floating with to make this work. It's a LAN event. It's a $2 million prize pool, and points, which I was starting to base off of the tennis circuit. I never really flushed out the points. So we can kind of ignore the points for net. Well, actually, no, we can't ignore the points now because the points earned at each event, and Lucas, if you actually scroll on over to the right for people, you'll see I was coming up. I hadn't finished it, guys. I was coming up with a point system and how the points would scale for where teams would place at events, and that would help them, stay within the major system. Now, the idea of this is literally every single event that would be run within this circuit would be part of the Counter-Strike global circuit. It's just shit name, but it was what I was coming up with, and that's how it would feed back into the majors for everybody to keep qualifying. So every event that you would play in within this circuit would earn you points depending on where you play. So we can scroll back over. Everybody kind of gets a rough idea with those points. Then we would have, 2 majors a year, right? Then the next thing we would have is championship level of events. Now, the championship level of events, the big events that we already have now, guys, like the Katowices, the Colognes, let's say that Blast and their big Copenhagen event had 24 teams. Let's say that Star Ladder, for example, ran a big event with 24 teams, right? So that would be the next thing. We'd have 4 of those championship level of events. They would go for 2 weeks, and they would be the next biggest step down, which I think the Colognes, the Katowices, the Blast Copenhagens, they already are, right? That there would be from 500K to $1 million in prize money, and it'd be 1,000 points. Your Masters level of events, which would be your next tier down from that, we'd have 10 of those events a year spread out over the course of a calendar. And the way that all you can see it goes 20 for the open events, and the challenger ones, that would be more of online events, that would be more regional events. And basically you would start at the challenger events to start earning points. You would earn enough points to play in the open level events. You'd earn enough points to the open events to play the master events. You'd earn enough points to the master events to play the champion events. And obviously then being in that funnel and being able to qualify for the major in the highest thing. Now, the thing that is interesting with this concept is if you look at tennis, right? If you look at tennis, if you're Djokovic, you get invited to literally every single stop on the tour, right? You could go to every single event every single week if you wanted to, but you don't choose to do that. You just want to make sure that you have enough points to get you to the Grand Slams, right? That's kind of the way this works. Enough points to get to those Grand Slams and be able to compete at the biggest events. That's what I think we should want in Counter-Strike, right? I came up with I'll link this one as well. Lucas, on this, when you go to it, just before you show everybody, go to slide. Hold up a second. My thing's freaking out. Go to. Oh, I almost put it in the chat for everybody. Go to slide. Why is it bugging? Go to slide. I think it's 6. Go to slide 6 as it loads. Google's not having a great time right now, so hopefully it loads for everybody here. But slide 6 was like a mock-up calendar that I did as well for a year. Now, guys, I know that this is waffling on. I know a lot of you probably don't care, but I hope some people in the know see this and they might think it's worth some merit. Now, the tennis goes literally 52 weeks a year, right? Tennis goes literally 52 weeks a year. This year we wouldn't go 52 weeks a year. We'd have breaks, right? You can see here I've put the breaks there in the black. But then you can see here, I've scheduled events every single week, right? So you wouldn't attend every single event. That's not how this would work, right? The idea here, and one of the key things that I think we miss in Counter-Strike right now, is making sure that comparable level Counter-Strike teams compete against other comparable level Counter-Strike teams. Right now in ESL's format, for example, like teams like Vici Gaming and Renegades and another South American team get flown over to get fucking dumpstered at events. They should play at an event level of their own and then earn qualification at these better events. So I just wanted to bring this up. It's just an interesting concept that I'm working with here. I could go on about this for hours. But if this inspires any of you at home to maybe think about this stuff and think what we could do, I'd really love to see some of your ideas, because I think that we can do so much with Counter-Strike. Anyway, we're done now. Maybe I'll polish it up eventually and I'll present it properly to the whole world. But there's a lot that can go into this, and I think there's a lot that we can do. And anyway, let's continue with the show. Thank you for the time, boys. I appreciate giving me
Great
that.
presentation, Chad. Please,
so-
class.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get there in the end, and I think we will get there. But let's start talking about the actual event, shall we? And let's do it in a fun way. Let's get into the Paramatch matchmaker. Let's start there, Lucas. You got that link ready, and then we'll start talking about some of the games, because we've been talking about a lot of things that are outside of the matches so far. So we will
Because there are
We'll
too many
get
matches
going.
to follow, so we're just like filling the episode, so don't have to talk about the teams.
There's too
or
many
anything.
games. All right. Lucas, thank you very much. I think it's me who's doing the. Oh no, wait, we're all doing it, right?
I think we
Yeah.
just do like either we do one by one or we try to like get
Kind
an
of collaborate.
agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
I'll
do you
press
want?
the buttons. Let's collaborate.
Okay.
Here.
Sure.
Okay, so this is the Power Match Matchmaker game, everybody. And what we're doing is we're using teams from the EU RMR events and we're giving them some descriptions here. And this is a way that we're going to go through the game. So we got Copenhagen Flames, FPX, Movistar Riders, Complexity, ENCE, OG, Fiend, and fnatic. And in the right-hand column, it's expected result, surprising result, player change, incoming, great future, top 4 finish, not making the major, making the major, and best to watch. So, Prof, you want to kick us? Oh, Striker, yeah?
No, I just wanted to clarify top 4 finish meaning here.
At this event.
Yeah,
at
not
this
at the
event,
major.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Prof, you want to kick us off with Copenhagen Flames?
Yeah, I got like a bunch of teams, like one that from each group, I got 2 teams, one that went out of the group and one that went to the playoffs. So just to have some like diversity and a bunch of these kind of upsetty teams.
Buzzword.
What did I say?
Diversity.
You see how like things just like stay in your mind.
Yeah,
after they were around. So Copenhagen Flames for me, definitely surprising result. For me, the most surprising result of the entire event. Not just going through, but going through 5-0, like beating everyone, going through the group that I thought was the toughest overall, with 4 pretty decent teams in Big, mouz, G2, and FPX. So yeah, OR was the only team, and they were like the biggest probably underdog from the tournament. But Copenhagen Flames going 5-0, I would have bet my house on it not happening. Like if someone came to me before the event, okay, I don't bet, but if I was a betting man, I would have been homeless now, essentially.
So we're going
Thank you, Copenhagen Flames.
We're going surprising result for that one.
Surprising result for me.
Okay, you got anything to add to that one there, Striker, or you think?
No, I think them going 5-0 is the crazy part. Like going to the playoffs, okay, like maybe they can go through like a 3-2, maybe with like from a tiebreaker with a couple of teams. I could see that happening, but at like 5-0 is just like literally just first place without any question even is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of praise was being given to them as well from other players on social media, like saying that they saw their games and they thought that they were playing some good Counter-Strike. And I was getting an opportunity to talk to Roy today, and he was having a lot of praise for the organization and you know what they mean in Danish Counter-Strike and how they run and stuff. So it's definitely a surprising result. I think a lot of people would struggle to even know the names in the team, right? Like the Zyphon, Huxi, you had obviously Huxi and Roy coming from Mad Lions. How do you say Nikodos, Lucas? Is that it? Is that how you'd say it? Or are you not an expert on his Danish name? Nikodos?
Okay.
Yeah,
Nikodos.
and we would in English we would say Jabby, but Zyphon today said Yabby with it's Jabbi. Yeah, Yabby, like a Y, or am I getting it there, Lucas?
I mean, I guess that's just how we
Close
pronounce
enough.
it in Danish.
It's close enough.
Yabby?
Okay, all right, yeah, okay. I guess it's just more of a rounding of the Y and the J there. All right, Yabby. All right. So that's the roster right there, and obviously they've surprised everybody. They have to play Vitality now though, so I don't know. I don't know how things are going to go for them now. It's best of 3.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
All right. Okay. So we can. The thing is, it's not that I want to like just not dive into them. There's just so many teams to talk about here, and I think after the playoffs we'll be able to sing their praises a little bit more if they continue. Like we'll be able to actually watch. Because here's the thing, guys. Striker was spending his entire time trying to work out the outcomes. I was casting all the European games on the mainstream, and Copenhagen Flames never featured. I didn't get a chance, and I don't know how many games you got to watch, Prof. But while you're trying to watch 3 games at once, it's bloody hard.
0 Copenhagen Flames games. Definitely 0 Copenhagen Flames. So that's something we'll catch up on in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just hard. Like it's really, really quite hard to keep up with all these games. So the next team that we have on this list here, I've lost the bloody link. There it is FPX. Striker, you want to start with FPX?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look through the options. Like I was definitely expecting more. I thought that would be
there
at
should have been
like
shit the bed here, which I forgot to put in.
yeah, that would have been a good one. Like To be fair, like we all expected them, kind of like there was that whole narrative that if they would play better against the top teams and stuff like that. That was kind of like why we thought they might have a decent shot at going through at least the top 3, and making the major that way. And obviously, like in the end, they actually had a chance, but it was kind of like through a bullshit, kind of like last chance miracle scenario where Copenhagen Flames beat everybody, and they actually could get to play the tiebreakers, which they eventually lost. So, like obviously way out of what maybe was expected out of them, in terms of at least people who thought that it might be the case that they play better against the 2 good teams. So, what's the way? I mean, not making the major is pretty obvious at this point. So let's not go for that.
Do you think
Do
a
you
player
think
change?
maybe a roster change?
I mean, that's literally like, okay, it's either expected result, which wasn't as I was just talking about, right? Or kind of like a player change. But I just don't know. I don't know if a player change would do it to them. Like, I don't even know what realistically their problem is, and if like just a different player would solve it, right? Like they've just been so out of competition, out of tier 1 competition entirely, that it's difficult to see just one player change, fixing them, or just like changing their identity or whatever.
I don't want to sound like a dick, but I normally do. But like, this sounds terrible. I feel really, this is going to come out of my mouth. What do they have to play for now? Right? They already weren't in the main events, right? They're not a partner team, unfortunately. Other than Flashpoint, and we don't know what's going on with the Flashpoint events. And they now don't have the major. So retooling the team at this point is probably not a terrible idea. Like, I'm not saying that's what they're gonna do, but I would say there's a high likelihood, right? When we had Devil Walk on the show, it kind of seemed like the major was the goal. That was meant to get them back on the map. Now that they're not back on the map, maybe now's the time to mix some things up. I don't know. You might know better than I, Prof. Pekka? Is Pekka? Is that
Petsa?
Petsa. Okay,
Yeah.
the guy over there. So do you know him at all? Do you think he would maybe change things up? Because it'd be his decision, right?
Yeah, why not? He doesn't seem like he's not like a passive guy that's just gonna sit there and watch it burn, I'm not saying that he's gonna change because this team is now dead completely, but this result plus them not playing for 3 months, which is a combination of a bit of bad luck, missing out on one tournament, missing out on another tournament, but yeah, having like a 3-month break almost from officials is gonna leave a dent on them. And they also did say that they're like changing a lot of things in the team, which perhaps didn't go as planned. I am looking at the ratings of the players, and it's like on first glance it looks fine. Like Stico 1.11, Madden 1.10, Zen 1.06, and then you have Farlig 0.88, which is pretty fucked up for an upper. I don't know if he had a decent game. Like, he literally had red games against everyone except Aura, even though a bunch of them were like 0.99, 0.95. But that's definitely not great. He's been a player that's been kind of up and down, and when they had their up part was when he was doing well. But then, as we remember, they missed out on EPL, was it, and then Cologne, and then they just didn't play anything for such a long time. So maybe that's if they're going to do a roster change, that could be maybe the place. Emmy as the IGL 0.8. I guess that's not that surprising overall. But yeah,
maybe now they can get Chris J.
But there's also a thing that they could make a roster change by someone picking up their player. That is also a possibility.
True. Yeah,
like,
Madden
could go to G2 and play instead of like Jax. That could happen essentially. I'm not sure they want that to have like a whole Balkan gang,
but it could happen.
It could happen. Like, Stico could also go and join some teams. Like, he's still, I think, probably on the radar for like these international rosters that need like a fifth player. I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and that could happen with this team. Smuya is on the lookout for a team. He's going to be free now. He's a type of a player that could fit into this lineup, honestly. Like, a bunch of misfits and I don't know, interesting personalities.
But,
all right, you sold me. Let's go with player change.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only fitting one, apart from like unexpected results for the people who didn't believe in them in the first place. But I kind of did, so that doesn't fit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go into the riders. of the
Riders.
Movistar variety. Where are they going to fit here? Because they've made it to the playoffs. I don't think people expected that, but I also don't think they're going to get a top 4 finish.
No.
We could go
Wait,
with not making
they're playing NIP.
Not making the
making
major.
major. What are the
They
chances?
could very
right now?
well because, well, basically, like whoever finishes 8th, as long as it's one of these teams, one of these 4 teams who didn't have points in the first place, Fiend, ENCE, Copenhagen Flames, Riders, there's a decent chance that they don't make it. Basically, like I think it's going to work out that team doesn't make it.
Okay.
As long
Because
as it's,
after they get eliminated,
because
let's say
basically like
from
they could have big just win one match in the top 12, which already puts them above them.
Yeah.
And then they could have like FaZe or OG making top 12, which also puts them above them. Or top 9, sorry, winning the bracket or something, or even top 10 for OG.
But FaZe was
actually.
9th, right? And I think OG was. I
Yeah,
thought
FaZe just
OG
need
could
to
come
outright
11th.
win. Yeah, OG would need to come 11th, but then they would need big not to make points, and then FaZe finish 10th or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is like, what that is like, but that 11th is a long shot, and then 10th is a decent chance, and then 9th they're just guaranteed. But essentially, like it could easily work out that big just win one match, and then FaZe plays 9th or something like that in that bracket, and they both go above this team, and that means that the team who finishes 8th in this bracket, as long as it's one of those 4 teams, they would just finish right below that line in 12th place, so they wouldn't make the major. That's
Ooh.
basically like where we're sitting right now.
I
Like
think out of these, yeah,
either one of those teams fucks up, big doesn't make points, and they end up still below them. Maybe FaZe just lose to OG immediately, though doesn't make it below them, stuff like that. So like it looks very likely that whoever finishes 8th is going to be out.
out of all of these underdogs, Copenhagen Flames, Movistar, ENCE, Fiend.
I think it's
Which one?
Movistar who goes out, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Not making the major.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, my.
I think they're
Spaniard friends.
the one. I think they're the one team that I would expect to lose to anybody else out of the 4 teams.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I 2 versus 1. I'll take it there. Okay. Complexity. I think Great Future, probably the one I want to lean towards here for complexity. No, seriously.
Okay.
Well, we could just cop out here and
say expected result.
Yeah, but then like I don't know. I don't think we expected them to do as poorly as they did.
Definitely not after. What the fuck did they play last Blast, right?
I did kind of lean in that direction last time. Said that they were going to be readable to people. How they play.
The thing is, like, they were close every time. Like I remember watching a couple of their games at least. Like the one against Sinners, for example. Like that was kind of a like one that they could definitely win. I don't know about the Astralis one. I didn't watch that, but the Movistar one was the same shit. Like obviously they shouldn't be. Like with the players they have, they shouldn't be playing close against some of these teams. Like they shouldn't be playing close like against the Movistar, letting them win and stuff. And that's basically what cost them a spot, right? But they had 3 very close results and then got destroyed by Heroic at the end when they already had where it was already a long shot for them to even make it. So what do you I would say expected. I would say expected, to be honest.
Expected?
Yeah,
that works.
Like I would have expected them not to be guaranteed through anyway. So that's kind of like the angle for me.
Okay. Yeah, complexity's in a rough spot. I don't know what's going to happen with that team. ENCE is a fun one. ENCE could make top 4.
Who are they playing? Yeah, I forgot.
ENCE playing against
G2.
Okay, maybe they can't make top 4.
Sure.
Well, yeah, maybe they can. I don't know. Like,
it feels like G2 is the G2 is the one team that I feel like is kind of like the most fitting to them style wise, because like ENCE like to run this fast CS. G2 are kind of like in a similar spot where they just like to run their players, pretty free flowing and stuff like that. It could be a fun matchup, is what I'm saying. And so ENCE could be feeling pretty well.
To go safe, we could go Great Future, right?
Yeah.
Like, do we see ENCE being like 100%. Out of the teams left as well? Maybe Great Future just fits them because, like, to be fair, like Diha, Hades, and Spinks, if they find some consistency and they're able to do it on land consistently, those 3 they're really good. Like, they're really good players. Like you can see it. You can see the moments. It's just the consistency of that is something that I think is still to come. And the 3 of them obviously haven't had much LAN experience at they haven't had any LAN experience at tier 1 events, right? So What do we think about Great Future?
Yeah, I like Great Future. None of the other stuff. I mean, top 4 finish. Obviously, there's chances we talked about, but like Great Future, I think nobody else fits. Maybe OG, I guess. Nobody else fits in that category.
Well, then maybe nobody gets a top 4 finish then,
All right.
because it's
Fiend
only
against
Fiend.
Astralis.
Well, yeah, it's just Fiend now, but Astralis
Fiend
is not
against
in the.
Astralis. What do you think?
No.
Can the Bulgarians
No
bulldoze their way down the Danish star? I don't know. That doesn't
It'd be
mean
really
anything.
hard, I think, in a best of 3. Like,
Definitely.
let
But
me
I-
just check the map pool. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, Prof.
I don't know. Like just the way, of course, FaZe, but still the way I'd actually go best to watch out of the teams that I watched. That
Okay.
was very, very fun to me to watch. I mean, Bubble did say in that interview after we just disrespected them, I guess, something like that. He was very like chill about it. It wasn't BM, even though it sounds like BM. He's like, "What did you do?"
Didn't give them respect. Is essentially
just,
what he wanted to say.
We didn't give them respect, and they didn't, and it was nice to watch. It was enjoyable.
I have something on that. I was talking to Red Star and Han today. I'm giving up all the interview content, right? So it'll be better coming out of their mouths than mine. But I said to them, I said, okay, so you guys, you two crazy kids, you decided to double AWP mid Mirage. I'm like, normally like one guy AWPs mid and the other guy AWPs in Extremity. You guys both decided to AWP mid. And I was like, was that like part of the game plan? They go, well, we thought it would work, so we just improvised. And I was like, you just improvised against FaZe to lock yourself in for the playoffs where you could potentially go to a major. They're like, yeah, we just improvised. I was like, okay, well, keep fucking improvising then, I guess. Like, just keep doing it.
Did you see an amazing improvisation by Sinners? Who did they play last? On Nuke.
Jeez, there were so many games. Yeah,
essentially double up ramp.
Oh yeah,
push.
Alex pointed that out. I missed it. What was going on there?
The actual fuck. And of course, they both died to the same guy. I think Zipnix just kills them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that round.
And I'm like, that isn't great. This doesn't look like a comeback after that round.
I was generally tilted in that game when I was looking at like the exact same rounds that they used to lose, like in EPL.
Yep.
Like exactly the same like types of rounds. This isn't even it. It was like the third round where basically like it was like they won the pistol, Astralis won the force buy, and then or something like that, and then they were 2v5 or 5v2 rather. 2 guys from Astralis are stuck in a site without even having the bomb planted, and they all lose one by one, like all run out one by one and lose to those 2 guys at the site. Literally, they have them boxed in, sandwiched in. One of those rounds where you just can't lose. Like you can't lose that round. Like it's impossible to lose, and like basically it runs away from them from that point on. So it's kind of like it's just a recurring story with Sinners at this point, and that's really something that they need to fix.
Because I don't know, this is maybe not even a thing that you actually change. I mean, you fix with a roster change. I guess this is just experience or whatever that you need. But is there a player that they could, because they are on this like level now for a couple of months. Like as we said, EPL was almost the same shit where they looked out of the teams at this event also that didn't go through. They looked almost probably the best. I don't know. Didn't watch obviously all of the matches, but they looked pretty good, and they just stumbled and they did the same shit in EPL.
I think the Movistar loss basically like cost them a spot. Like that's the one that was 16-14 as well, I think. So like that's basically what cost them a spot.
Is there a player that they can potentially upgrade and check?
I mean, I'm looking at who they would even replace, because I don't like, obviously like people will look at Beastic, but he's kind of like the IGL who takes a lot of the crap spots and stuff like that, like goes first kind of like for Neofrag and stuff like that, just like makes sure that Neofrag has some space, stuff like that. So it's just like it's a difficult player to replace. Like sure, you could just bring in somebody with like more firepower and stuff like that and play like this way, but I think Sinners would be in shambles if that happened. Like it would be difficult to make that team work if they didn't have Beastic. So that's like the difficult one, because everybody else, like Zetko is kind of like the most experienced guy outside of Oscar. Like he's been around for a while and he's actually been doing pretty okay. Shock and Neofrag are both kind of like Neofrag is just obviously the star, and Shock is kind of like the third one after Oscar and Neofrag, just sometimes, stepping up. And then Oscar's obviously the upper who's kind of like carrying them most of the time, right? So it's basically like you could look at Zetko as somebody who could go out, but I just don't see a reasonable enough upgrades for any of them essentially in the scene. Like that's the problem.
I think they could probably have another 6 months, right? I think like their time at this level I think it is going to be rocky at the start. We're just getting to see their forays into tier 1 CS, and there's a lot more focus on it, right? So if they have a couple more events like this and things they still have those same problems, like losing 2v5s on forced by rounds after they've done all the hard work, then maybe you have to start looking at, okay, what's the problem? Like, is it like a philosophy with Counter-Strike? Is do they have nobody who can close those situations?
I mean, from watching them play those situations, it almost feels like it kind of has gotten into their heads because they just know they're in this situation again, and we just can't fuck it up, and then they fuck it up because they think they can't fuck it up. That kind of a thing. That like I feel like it's psychological after seeing them lose so many of them and the way that they lost so many of them. Like all of them just like completely like stupid way that should never happen if you want to be a top team. So that's what I think is the biggest problem, like just fixing the situation where, okay, this is our round and now we have to just figure out how to actually win it, right? So I don't know if it's patience, I don't know if it's just somebody with a voice who just like makes sure that kind of like guides them through some of these rounds, because like there's so many situations where they can just take their time and stuff like that and everything's going to be okay, right? But then somebody just like rushes ahead of everybody else, dies, gives up a gun to a pistol, and then just like it spirals out of control, stuff like that, right? So maybe it's just somebody with more of a voice. I don't know whether Oscar can be that guy. I heard that he has quite a big voice in this team, has kind of like helped them try to like pass on some of that experience, but I don't see him as the guy who will always tell them like during a round that's okay, this is not what we should be doing. Like I'm not entirely sure. Like I haven't heard them communicate properly to be able to tell that. So maybe that's one way they can upgrade it. Maybe it's like just a different coach who could kind of help them kind of calm down in those situations and make sure.
We've heard it here first. We've heard it here first.
Stick out to Sinners. I think it's a bit too early for him to return to the Czech scene, even though Sinners are higher ranked than FPX and probably have more spots at upcoming events. So maybe you can think about that. Who knows?
Okay, let's finish the matchmaker. Then we're going to run to a quick break, and then we're going to talk about the bracket later. Right? I'm just going to push it down the line. Okay. OG, let's get these guys. I think that OG might get lucky and end up making the major here.
Yeah, fair.
Like I think that they were another one of these teams who thought that they couldn't make it. I think it was like FaZe, mouz, OG. They were like three teams.
Big as well.
Yeah, who thought that they were all out of
contention.
He
was like, I'm out. So 1 hour later, I qualified.
Yeah, like
basically, I think I'm trying to. Yeah, I have to work this out properly, or just look at what Wikipedia put out. But I think if they beat FaZe, they already have a really good shot, because that already puts them to top 10. And that already puts them above that 8th place team, because that's like whatever above that 1406 points or whatever the 8th place team have. So like as long as they beat FaZe, I think they're already within a decent shot, even if Big win that match on the other side and qualify through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there could be a decent chance there.
It's a safe bet then. Okay.
And fnatic obviously top 4 finish.
Yeah, top 4 finish for fnatic here, guys.
Yeah, okay, I can confirm that now. Okay, now looking at the Wikipedia thing that they put out, scenario 1, they finish in 9th place. That just guarantees them through. They just have enough points to go above the 1660 point, whatever that teams needed to guarantee a place.
So just win 2
scenario
games.
2, well, yeah, beat FaZe and then beat the winner of Heroic Big.
Okay,
that's the one. And then scenario 2, they beat FaZe, or like they finish in 10th place, but that means beating FaZe. And then one of either Big plays 12th, or one of those 4 teams who I just talked about, the Fiend, ENCE, Movistar, and Copenhagen Flames, one of those finishes 8th and OG are through.
Okay. I mean, that is the second part is 99% going to happen.
That is very reasonable, yeah.
Yeah. I will see about Big. Big is kind of okay still.
Yeah, so Big just need to win one match, one of those 2 matches, either against Heroic or against the loser of OG and FaZe, and they're through. If they don't, I think they're out.
So there's a pretty good chance. And I think, Prof, you made a typo, right? It was meant to be top 40 finish.
That's kind of a stretch for fnatic right now, but I'd go honestly probably player change.
You think?
Wow.
Okay.
I think it's too early.
I think
as much as maybe it would work, I don't think they think that they need to change.
I don't know. Brolin had his worst event in 1,000 years, and he's only
20, 15.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so literally his worst event of this caliber ever, 0.77 rating. That is fucking atrocious. He's actually, especially for his role and the way he plays, he's like super consistent, going back through all of his lands since he joined Fnatic essentially as a super young kid. So that for me is probably that's like he is the one player on this team that you don't want to fuck with. Like you don't want this guy to be in bad shape because you're not going to recover from that. That's your like win scenario, right?
We'll leave this last one open. And I don't know what the future holds for Fnatic. It wasn't a good showing. I don't think we expected them to do that badly, but I don't think it was a surprise either. So
Stop saying that Brolan went down after the fucking Krieg nerf because I'm gonna literally not. I'm
Somebody
not gonna
said
have
it in
it.
chat.
all right.
People are spamming it all the time.
Go to the ad break so Prof can cool down, and we'll be back in a second. Lucas, take us there. Hang with us, guys. 1 second. We'll be right back.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
First of all, big apologies to Copenhagen Flames that we literally couldn't watch their games. Or I have an excuse. The other two, I don't know. You're going to have to repent your sins or something over here. But anyway, what we're going to do, guys, is
I watched one half. I watched one half.
Well, there you go. You saw more than me. Today I watched a couple of rounds while Roy and I and Zyphon watched back there a little bit of their nuke demo. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to speed run through the CIS stuff because there was no real crazy outliers in terms of major qualification. Then we're going to do an NA fantasy team, and then we're going to double back to the EU storylines that we may have missed. So hang around. We're going to come back to maybe your favorite team. Maybe we won't. Maybe you miss out. Either way, Gambit and NAVI qualify, and their legend status for both of them, right?
What, sorry?
Navi
Oh,
and
yeah.
Gambit,
Navi
yes.
and Gambit are the
Legend
first two
status?
legends. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and that's great. And right, they played in the grand final, which thank God they changed it from a best of 5 to a best of 3, because I think that saved us all a little bit of trouble. So there's a positive right there.
They might as well not have played it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's negligible prize money. It was merely just for pride.
As we said on the last episode when Machine was here, of course, the casters, analysts, everyone was trying to do their best to make this a spectacle. Like everyone was trying very hard, especially these guys that don't get to do like grand finals with top teams. Darth Mike on the desk asking Nafani some questions like, how does it feel? You lost to the last 2 grand finals to Navi. And Nafani's like, yeah, I know this doesn't really matter. This match doesn't really matter. And it's like, fuck. And he's like trying to set it up constantly and nothing is happening. And it's kind of sad, but it was pretty funny, honestly.
I think it's important, though. I think it's really important that teams and the broadcast sets the importance of things for people at home, right? Because like we spoke about this a while ago where we talked about certain teams are playing events as like a practice event or like a tune-up event or like a trial event for a player. It's very important that we set that for people and that people can understand that not all events are weighted the same.
Right.
Because like the event that everybody should be going into at 100% is the major. Then maybe you can argue the event that everybody should be going in with at least 80% is probably Katowice and Cologne, like if not more, like 80%. Like I'm trying to go across the board. Everybody should be minimum 80, right? So, yeah, it's not that we haven't had pointless matches in the past before, and Blast run pointless matches in their group stage format for their partner teams as well, right?
Attacking competition.
No, I'm not.
Right
I'm not.
away.
But they are pointless matches, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
The finalize, it really is pointless.
And like these things are qualifiers for something else. So like to have a grand final here when both teams are already qualified and the points aren't going to make a difference for their rankings is where they stand. Like,
and the difference in prize pool is $5,500. So 1,100 bucks per person. Actually, minus 20-30% for the org, and actually minus the coach. So essentially, like 500 bucks difference if you win the best of 3 or you lose it.
Yeah, and I think for some of them, like money isn't even necessarily a motivating factor in a lot.
Both teams won like $2 million
this year already.
Last year, yeah.
So it's like it's whatever, right? So
and it's just like everybody goes into this tournament just like with the goal of, okay, we make it to the major, then we make it Legends, then like whatever happens, whatever, right? Like that's literally how teams go into these tournaments. Like that's why, like, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into that, but just in general, like at the second that the group stage was over, this was all irrelevant, essentially.
But I guess the key here is that these are the best 2 teams in the world right now. They have been the best performing teams over this 9 months that we've had. Yep, now we're in the 10th month. And that's it. That's what we want. We wanted those 2 guys to be locked in legend status. So that's important. Job done. Yep. Great stuff. Can't wait to see more of them at the major. We don't need to spend too long talking about those. Virtus Pro. YEKINDAR was in good form again, and when Virtus Pro have YEKINDAR in good form, they look like a team that can win. They've qualified for the major. They've got the goal we wanted to see.
They were actually like in a bad spot, honestly.
Yes,
like they needed either to do like super well here or for someone to fuck up. And not only everyone fucked up. K23 and forZe didn't get out of the groups, didn't get any points. So essentially they qualified quite easily, but it could have been quite difficult. They had a massive gap to make up. So if forZe did anything, essentially, I think they wouldn't qualify. I'm not sure how it would go.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like that, pretty much. Like they would have to outplace them like by a lot or something.
Yeah, it was looking touch and go for VP, right? And I think if VP didn't qualify for this, I think like almost immediately we might have seen a roster change, or maybe this Spirit forZe, maybe VP would have been involved in some of those conversations, because we've heard the rumors about poor Sanji. But I think VP are a team who is too good, or at least has pieces that could be really, really good for them to be up struggle street, right? So I'm glad that they've given themselves this second wind, but unless they truly are able to have, first of all, YEKINDAR with this level of consistency, which I'd love to see. I love the kid. I love his attitude. I think it's great, like to have a guy with his like pep. If they can't find whatever the solution is to, I'm not saying they have to win the major. I'm just saying they need to look competitive. Yeah. And if they can't find the solution for that, then I still think a roster change is on the cards right after the major. So,
I mean, for me, as long as YEKINDAR is at the major, I'm pretty happy, honestly. Like the rest of Virtus Pro, I couldn't care too much, but like I'm glad YEKINDAR made it.
Yeah, he like major rookie, of course, and there's a lot of actually top players now that are going to be at their first major. Like Blame F is also a player I'm pretty sure never played a major, and he's going to miss out on this one now. Like I'm pretty sure he didn't play a major before.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but I don't think so.
So there's a lot of players like this. So that's kind of an interesting storyline to kind of maybe catch up at some point before we get to PGL Stockholm.
Yeah. Sorry, the internet right now is making really hard for me to be able to click around things like on any of this.
Entropiq is the 4th, 5th, and Entropiq and Spirit. So I guess these are the teams that we want to see from the CIS region. forZe was the team that we thought should probably make it. Their form was okay at EPL as well, and they just shit the bed here. So what can you do? Overall, I think it's a good team.
Between forZe and Entropiq, though, right? Like if we were looking at CIS Counter-Strike in the last year, right? The 4 that we wanted was Spirit, VP, Gambit, and NAVI, right? Like, and then out of forZe and Entropiq, it's like you could take one of the 2 and you'd be happy.
Like, especially with how forZe looked like towards the start of the year after the changes, like it took them a long time to kind of like get to a speed. While Entropiq has kind of like been like around the entire time, right? Like they kind of like were still like on the precipice of making it to like, a top tier event and making like doing at least reasonably well there. So I think you're right. I think it was always between those 2 who we, like in best case scenario, would have wanted to go to the major. So I think like the way that it worked out is kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think so too. I think regardless of those upsets with like Indy Ray and stuff looking like really good in the best of ones, I think we got all the names that we wanted here. And I think like for forZe, they were the ones, you guys remember back at Berlin, like they were the ones who I think like had the most hype around them as one of the like CS teams coming out, and then it never manifested. They kind of stalled out. So it's almost like the forZe story at this point. It's good to see Spirit qualifying like that's good. It's really good to see Spirit qualifying because again, this is another team with a lot of skill, right? Dexter, Magic, Mia, those three names alone, like same thing is almost the same thing for me as VP. If they can get their act together and their approach to the game or whatever the boogeyman is that seems to be haunting them, then they can be another deadly team. You know, it's not like gone are the days of the Vega Squadron bullshit. Like these guys can be legit if they can just sort out a couple of those little wonky moments that they have. Do we have any other takeaways from the CIS stuff, or we're pretty good with that? Anyone,
Not really.
anyone got any
I
comments?
think that's it. Shiro had an amazing tournament. I think this was also like
Shiro,
a bit the stats moment, like his best tournament since he joined Gambit. Essentially, if we look at stuff out of this like comparable level, so that's kind of nice for him. Like we're used to Shiro being like very good, but not like simple level numbers like 1.40 ratings and shit like that. That's not really on an event basis, not really Shiro. Shiro is like 120, 125. That's like very consistent. So it's interesting if he can like be on this level, this like super explosive level. This I know the grand final against Navi was not important, but on Overpass he literally had CT side 12-0, like didn't die, won so many crucial rounds. So it was pretty interesting.
I actually have kind of an interesting tidbit. I don't think Peter would like mind me sharing this, but I was like, because of the event being this backwards and being like going from most important to least important, like as you go further, like actually there was a world in which YEKINDAR would have had the MVP even as like a third placed player, just because of he was amazing in the group stage, but then he kind of fell off in the playoffs a little bit. So and Shiro just played great still, so he just clinched it in the end. But there was like, I know there was a thought in Peter's head that maybe YEKINDAR was just the MVP because he played the best in when it most mattered, and he kept playing well even when it stopped, mattering as much, So like that was like a realistic outcome that could have happened if Shiro maybe shit the bed in the grand final and didn't really do anything there. Like there was actually a world in which YEKINDAR would have been the MVP.
That would have been cool. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it's always weird.
It's a weird way to approach a tournament, right? Just because like we're not used to this. Like we're not used to the group stage mattering the most in the playoffs, not mattering at all.
Yeah.
So like it's just like I said, an interesting tidbit from like behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the other big one for the CIS region was Akuma disbanding. Obviously, we thought that was going to happen. I'm surprised they even played.
I mean, they already said that they disbanded like 2 months ago. Same
so
guy,
disbanded
Jakey
twice.
guy. And then they just continued playing together, actually having some good results. And now they actually disbanded. This time for real, guys.
Okay, you sure? They're not
Didn't
the boys who cried
didn't
wolf?
somebody say they're still meant to play in some
No,
events?
then
Or
they
did
said
that
that
get canceled?
they're gonna play one more event than I heard. I think it's like the C Champions or something. I don't know.
Okay, so they're not disbanded. They're just
Who the fuck knows? Yeah.
they want us to keep calling.
Just
all right?
check back in a month and let's see.
All right. Let's jump into the IEM Fall North America. And what we're going to do is to discuss this event, we're going to make a fantasy team, guys. So we're going to cover off all your teams here because we're going to pick the fantasy. Then once we're done with this, we're going to get into playtime and we're going to discuss some of those European things that we missed. Now, Lucas, do you have a little link for us or should we? Yeah, I sorry, dude. I spring this on you every time.
I'll just name drop the teams. So Liquid is there. The fantasy is for the whole event, so group stage plus playoffs. We have Liquid, massive favorites. We have Furia with Drop, played only a couple of games so far. Extra Salt, yeah, but they have OC, who's like 241,000, which is like Zaiwu level. So I'm not really sure that you want them. You have Pain, you have Godsent, EG, Bad News Bears, 00 Nation, Team One, Extremum, Triumph with George Snorts there, and ATK, the South Africans with MOTM playing with them again. So that's kind of the combination of teams, and especially because Liquid was EU for their last couple of months, they don't have. You can put in a name for the team, and let's start when you can. Yeah, since Liquid was in EU, they didn't have that good ratings because they played against better teams, so they're going to be a bit cheaper compared to like some of these only NA teams. So yeah,
you said this was easy, man. Like how the fuck? Like I'm not a guy who like I occasionally play fantasy because
we can kill,
but you know that OC is fucking destroying everyone in NA. Like he's
I mean,
fucking.
I was aware that he was doing
supremacy.
well, but I don't know how much like the system actually like derates him or whatever.
Well,
Yeah, because you get some, you get like a discount for the teams that are not as highly ranked. But I think it works based on the event, like the teams in the event, not the world ranking, but like
Right.
event ranking 1 to 8 or 1 to 16.
Sure.
I think here, boys, out the gate, looking at the group the way it is with Liquid, Bad News Bears, Pain, Extra Salt, Extremum, and ATK, we should just straight away get
Pick.
Stewie and Grim.
Stu and Grim.
Now, like, hear me out. Liquid should qualify against these level of teams, right? If we
I
get
think-
Stewie and Grim, it's going to save us money, right? Instead of buying an Elysian and NAF,
I
and that
think
means we could
Elige-
buy a Phelps.
I think Elige is gonna shit on these kids. So like, that's,
Yeah.
I feel like he could be like the 1.48 rating player who could just like
Okay.
own every game in this tournament. So that's kind of like my thinking for
I back this.
218. I think like if you look at like who's players who are above him and who I wouldn't just put as much on. Like, I mean, OC could probably be one of them, even though I think he's still gonna do well. But there's like Safe for like 240,000, who you're not sure could do as well. And then like Phelps from Godson being 234, 227 one Dumal. Like some of these players who you just are not going to be as sold on. So I think
All right.
it's such a no-brainer.
So Elige,
Yeah,
start
Elige
with Elige.
definitely.
Okay.
But Stewie or Fallen? That's the question.
You don't think Grim farms North American noobs?
Ah, you want Grim? Okay, Grim's
Well, I
okay.
don't
He's
know.
the
I like-
cheapest.
I
He's
don't
the
mind
cheapest.
Grim.
Yeah, let's go for Grim. He
I-
also
I-
did have a good tournament recently.
So Elige, we got Grim. As we go down the list, I somebody from Furia is not a bad shout, right? They're obviously the best team in their group, right? Without a doubt. Like, do we want to go for like
Let me
a
see. Who were you talking about
Furia?
now?
Like,
Oh,
would
Furia.
a Vinny be
Right.
worth it, or would an Art, because he's quite cheap, and we could put him like in an entry fragger role?
Yeah, Entropiq could work for him, definitely.
But is there like a
Um,
sleeper team here that like, because I don't want to pick anyone from EG.
That's the thing. Like, EG are super fucking cheap. Like,
They are very cheap. There's like
Third
Breezy for
for-
181. That's kind of crazy.
I think you can't not pick someone from EG.
Okay.
Honestly. Maybe, I mean, you can, but
Like the thing is, they're still going to be favored to make it out of this group. Like as much as they've shit the bed, like I think, and as much as they haven't really played together much, like I think this is still going to be the event where they do reasonably well.
who do you pick then, striker from EG?
I mean, I'm looking at Breezy kind of just because, like, he's the one with the most potential to improve. But then again, like 181, what does that
also-
put us at?
He didn't play for like 3 months, and me, who
Yeah,
we know was kind of okay in these events. I
That's
mean,
true.
I'm kind of biased. I
like
think
Mew?
he's okay. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
But-
I'm fine either way. To be honest, I feel like Breezy has the most. Like, we could get more value for money for him, but then again, like the difference is pretty small between them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love how you guys have faith in EG.
I
have
think
none.
they're going to
gonna
be
get
like
owned.
Okay.
I think
you're
they
gonna
can
get
be top
your
three.
you're gonna get your extreme pick. Okay. We pick Mihu,
I don't want
and
anyone from
then
Extremum.
and now you pick Sponge.
I'd prefer
Fucking-
George Snorts than anyone from Extremum. Like what? I don't want anyone from Extremum. Let's not go crazy here. Like I can't. The boys have shown way too much inconsistency to be able to pick them. And even in this field right here, you would argue that Extremum should be able to beat ATK, Pain, Bad News Bears, Extra Soul, and Liquid are the only ones where you go, okay, well,
oh no, Lucas did it for us, man.
who did he pick?
He picked Jacob and Grant
Oh,
to finish the team.
Get it out of there, Lucas. We don't need any of that. How much money do we have left, Lucas?
Like over 400
Holy
now.
shit. Let's splurge, boys. Let's see if we can get a basement bargain player in the mix here. We
We
can get
kinda
another
go-
expensive boy.
Yeah, or yeah, we could go either for two kind of like middle of the road or like one expensive, one kind of not, you know.
What about like a Yuri or a
All right, let me see how the
I don't know,
prices
yeah,
look like.
I'd love if we can put K Serato in
okay?
and make it work. I think
Okay.
it's gonna pay off. Like K Serato's form has been fucking
Yeah.
That'd be
insane.
nuts.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
Let's
that's
try
going to
it.
leave
Let's
us
try
with
it,
what,
boys.
170?
That's rough.
Oh, Matt. Okay, Mad Cow isn't actually Mad Cow. He needs
It's
to be.
John G.
He's
Yeah,
John
John
G.
G.
Who is the best player on fucking Bad News Bears.
John G.
And we shot on him. You did Sponge on the last show. Wouldn't it be poetic? Wouldn't it be?
Ooh. But do we think that Triumph? I mean, not Triumph. Do we think that Bad News Bears are going to do well in that group?
Probably not. But we don't have. These are the 3 players that we can pick for this lineup. Do you want Cirque or do you want John G? I mean, we can go for Cirque as well, but then we have 2 EG players.
Yeah, I don't like having 2 EG players.
We can also just
maybe we can just replace. Yeah,
replace Queserado with Yuri for a
Mm.
second. No,
Okay.
just a second,
Okay.
just to see what this opens up. Maybe it opens the door up. Okay. Do we have any? Do we?
Whoa, Taco, yeah. Amazing pick.
I
Sheikh
don't-
Zula.
Lucas?
Okay. No, Lucas, the Brazilian Lucas.
Yeah, not you,
We're talking-
Lucas.
Okay, Brazilian
Ah.
Lucas, I could go for it. I could see that. It's the whole plan.
I
It's the plan. They have a plan.
Maybe Liaz could find some Delta. No, so we didn't want to get. I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
we can also do Lias.
Yuri seems
You
like a
need
good
to
pick
pick.
as well. I need a pick.
Yeah, you need to pick.
How much is Liaz worth?
180.
How much money would that leave us with?
6.
All right, buy get Liaz. Fuck it. Fuck it. This is the last time. This is the last time. The last time I'm ever having faith in Extremo. If Liaz lets us down here, that's it. This is their chance. It's not a bad team. Elige, Grim, Mihu,
Michał
Yuri, and
Slavinsky.
Liaz. Do we want to do the rolls or do we want to just leave it there?
We don't have an opera here. That's kind of fucked. So maybe
All right, do this. Sell
We-
Yuri, sell Liaz, get Art.
is he hopping? No, I guess he
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
he is.
And then how much does that leave us with? Over 200,000. So we can get
Like
another
220 or something even, no?
we could get a crazy boy.
Right, let me see. Where's Art? We have 202.
Leo DRK.
Who's the best player that we could get?
Looking.
Leo
There's
DRK.
like Breezy. There's like stuff. We don't want to do
Leo
that.
DRK on the entry roll. Believe me, best entry in Brazil.
Leo
But we got
Drunky.
Art.
I mean, we
Well,
have
Art
an
is gonna
Art
be
for an
hopping.
upper.
Yeah, Art is gonna be hopping.
Yeah.
Sponge is so confused.
Yeah, we have 202,000. There's like. Who else could be? Yeah, there's like a junior, but that's.
What are people saying in chat? Bentet, Taco Op, Swisher is great. Where's Gary? Bentet, aka Polish Pride. JT isn't bad. I'm not sure. Not sure about that one.
Is Benta available? Was
George Snorts.
He
could
is actually.
we
Bentet
could
is
get
202.
Bentet. We could get Bentet.
Bentet's 202.
Okay, do that.
Get Bentet from
Extreme.
Extreme, and then we'll get
Extreme Mums.
3 months.
and that is how we
And
spell
then we're
Mum
at
and
0.
Yeah, okay.
0.
Nice. It's not a bad team.
Okay.
All right, boys. Let's leave the fantasy there. If you guys want to play, you know where to go. Head over to HLTV.org. There's a nice little link at the top. It's called Fantasy. Click that bad boy. It's going to open up. You can play within the fantasy fall season. You might be a little bit late now, but there's prizes available, all that good stuff, leaderboards. If you like Counter-Strike, give it a crack. And if you're here watching,
Multi-fragger for Elige, you put like CT for Grim, Op for fucking Art. CT is like the CT thing down left. It's probably okay. Miku headshot machine. It's just out of my head. Art Op, and who do we have left? We have
I'm missing like a leader role, no?
no, I mean we don't
But we
not
can't
gonna,
do that.
not
for,
gonna do
we can't
that.
do that for Geek Stream, yeah.
Just put like fucking whatever. I don't know.
Prof's
that
the
has
expert of this. Just listen to Profs. Get it done.
Support. There we
Just
go.
give him this, whatever.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Happy with that?
Yeah, playtime? No playtime?
Yeah, let's go into it. Let's go into it because there's a couple of things we probably should dive into. Lucas, roll the bumper. We'll get into playtime. We'll discuss some of these leftover topics and we'll get on out of here. All right, we're back, and we're just going to give you a last little taste here, guys, of a few of the topics to talk about here. We're just going to go the leftover topics, and that was, I guess, to do with the EU RMR that's currently underway. Lucas, I'm going to link you the bracket, if you can bring that up for everybody playing at home, so that we can just bring this up. So I'll read it out for those of you maybe listening on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, anchor.fm/HLTV, if you want to get involved in all that goodness. for the audio only options. Nice little plug there. But the main playoff bracket is Astralis, Fiend, G2 ENCE, Copenhagen Flames, Vitality, NIP, and the Movistar Riders. We also need to have 9th to 12th decider matches, and that was to do with the teams who came third in each of their groups. So that bracket there is 9th to 12th for Heroic versus Big and OG versus FaZe. Now, do we have Striker back with us?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So Striker, out of all these matches right here, which ones are the most important for major qualification implications? I believe
OG FaZe is one, for sure. Like that's what we were talking about. Like as long as OG beat FaZe, then there's a very reasonable chance that they make it. I mean, for Big, literally kind of this. I mean, for them, it's literally direct implication for a major. Like as long as they win a match, they go through. So that's like that's a major qualification spot on the line right there. In terms of the rest, I think any of these top 8 teams who didn't have points, so Fiend, ENCE,
need top 6, right?
Movistar just win a match in these, win a quarterfinal and they're through. So that's automatically like major qualification on the line for any of them in that match. So like literally any match like has some sort of implications. Like the OG FaZe one actually directly is the only one that doesn't. For at least one of these teams, you know, like for obviously in the playoffs, only 4 of those teams are still playing for like confirming their spot. And I think only one of them is, well, whatever. I think there's still some leeway there. So, but anyway, like every match other than OG FaZe has direct major implications, and then the OG FaZe one, like there's a decent chance that it will have too.
I mean, there's also the favorites that did qualify for the major already, which is MIP, Vitality, G2, Astralis. They also are playing for the legend status. Which means that they skip the first part of the major, essentially. I mean,
is that all with one win though? Like, do they all just need one win?
Sure. No, because it's Astralis, NIP, and Vitality who are top 3 at this point. So they would need to outplace each other. I think.
Ah, okay. So we have something to play for then.
Yeah, the 3 legend spots are kind of up in the air. Astralis and IP Vitality, as long as they finish like on top, like I think they should be guaranteeing it as long as they win their quarterfinals. I think that already locks all 3 of them, and nobody else can overtake them. I'm pretty sure.
Because mouz was pretty high, and they fucked up, right? Before this event, mouz was like top 3 or top 4.
Yeah, they were with Heroic, I think.
Does Heroic can actually still overtake Astralis if they place 9th and Astralis go out in 4th or something like that, I think. But in general, I think those 3 teams going top 3 should lock in. Oh no, it's G2 and Vitality. Sorry, Astralis are 4th one. I forgot.
Okay,
so Astralis are kind of like on the precipice. Yeah,
there's something to play for because you want to skip that first part. There's going to be a lot of good teams there as well. I mean, this is presuming that everything's the same as last year, which I'm not sure because we don't have the format yet.
Throw this in if you want to show people like the current standings for the RMR, like with updated points at this point, like how the teams look and who's still in the running. Like obviously crossed out red is the teams who can't make it anymore. The white ones are the ones that are still up in the air. Green ones are who already confirmed their spot. And if you look at the top 3, they're all very close to one another. I think it's all one placing within each other. So as long as like one outplaces the other, they're already through as legends. And then Astralis could theoretically mix things up if they place like first, and then one of those 3 teams ends up whatever 5th or something like that, you know. So like there's a chance for Astralis still to make it to the legends, but they would need to do a lot better than one of these other 3 teams essentially.
Okay, so win the whole thing basically.
Yeah, I think
because that's what it'll come down to.
Some are close to it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess this is probably a good one. I know that you were busy penciling away, so Prof, maybe you and I start this and we get Striker to tack on. But out of all the teams, the favorites that you're mentioning here, who has impressed you the most? Like, who's played the best CS? Because it's hard to pick. They've all had really good moments, and they all had a couple of wobbles.
I think Vitality. I think from a couple of matches that I watched, they were pretty good. They were kind of on the same trajectory from the last event. And then Astralis probably doing better than I expected. G2,
they were close games though, right?
G2 has been constantly underperforming, so of course they did better, but I expected more of them before, so they're kind of now where I expected them to be. But I think Astralis probably looking the best in terms of better than what I expected, and then Vitality being on a similar level.
I think the rookies of Vitality, I don't know if you got the same thing, but there's games where Masuda and Kyojin looked really shaky, but then there's other games where Masuda looked like really good and Kyojin had moments too.
Shox was pretty good as well.
Shox was great in a lot of those games, it felt like.
Clutch
I think
and shit.
the Astralis stuff, even though they topped the group, like you have to look at a lot of their games. 16-13 versus the Movistar Riders, 16-14 versus Heroic, 16-14 versus Complexity. They were all really close games. But the Movistar Riders one, I think that it felt like they were in the driver's seat for most of it. The Complexity one, that was a bit dicier. I think they were meant to close. Let me just remind myself. Yeah, oh no, they had to do the comeback. I thought they were looking like sailing. It was their T side where they started. Okay, yeah. They had to come back from being down 13-11. So it wasn't a crazy comeback, but they still had to make a bit of a comeback to come and win that one. But yeah, I think Astralis has impressed me the most because I think I had the lowest expectations for them out of the four. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Right. I mean, they're kind of a new team, let's say, even though they're the oldest team that exists. But still, they made so many of these changes that you're kind of surprised how well drilled and experienced together they look. They seem like a team that have been playing together for so long.
Yeah.
And in parts they have, and they have that bonus of like a coach and even Glaive helping out and all of this shit. So that makes sense, but it's still a bit surprising that it's kind of like, okay, just another match for Astralis, whatever.
Here's a question. This is a fun one. Let's do this now. What do you think Astralis' major will be roster will be at the major?
I would say it's going to be this one.
Okay.
I would say it's going to be the one that they use.
It's really hard.
I'd almost want them to kind of like make it work and bring back Glaive. But realistically, especially if they somehow make the legend spot, realistically, they're not going to switch out a player to lose the spot in the next stage. That's not going to happen, is it? I want to look. There's a press conference coming with them tomorrow, and I really want to ask them this because that's kind of the main question that I have. Let's say they do make the legend spot. If they don't, there's obviously a chance, right? Because they can just switch out a player and they're still going to make the major. They still have that big enough cushion that even if they lose 20% of points, they can still go to the major. They will still go to the major. So it doesn't matter for them until they make it over the top and make it to the legend spot.
Okay.
So theoretically, it is possible.
All right. Okay. Live in the world with me where they win the whole thing and they guarantee a legend spot, even if they were to change a player. Right. Let's live in that world. Let's have a little fun game with this, right? Okay. Because I'll present it to you this way. You had Zipex on the bench, right? And you called him back up because you needed him because Glaive's having a baby, right? So he's come in and he's qualified. He's helped you qualify and had some really impactful moments in these best of ones to get you into the playoffs to secure yourself the major spot. He's also part of the legendary core that won 4 majors. He's the first candidate to potentially get replaced. The second candidate, Bubsky, the poor fucking guy who was joined this team over a year ago now, and then just got stranded on the bench, right? Because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And then every time he got an opportunity to play, it was in a role that isn't for him, right? He gets stuck in this fucking situation where he's always having to play a passive role, or you've got Glaive in interviews saying, well, if Bubsky learns how to be, a little bit more passive when he's as good as an aggressive player.
Interviews literally on HLTV confirmed here with the 3 of us.
Yeah. Right, so you've got that Bubsky, the poor guy who's been through the wash, and now that he's playing in this team where it feels like there's room for him to be aggressive, he's looking pretty good actually. He's finding impact, having some good games. Or the other opportunity is Glaive, the in-game leader of that team, who's been a part of those major victories, right, will sit out of the chance for them to defend their 5th major crown. Which one of those are you picking if you're Zonic and the team? I couldn't think, you could say Lucky, but the guy's the AWPer.
No, I think the problem is here, our Astralis is thinking purely about the major. Is this only about the major? Is this only about their chances for the major, right? That's, if I was to guess who they would replace, it's different. It's a different conversation to who I think they should replace. Essentially, who I think they should is probably Bubsky if they want the best chance at the major. You have Glaive back, you have your AWPer, you have Zipex, who has actually been doing well and kind of fits his role, right? You basically just go back to the original Astralis, except you have Lucky instead of Device, right? You just have the setup that kind of works, right? Like that's the theory, right? Like obviously Lucky and Device output wise are different beasts and whatever like that, but like it makes the most sense role wise to me, at least at this point.
But
the problem is like
give me a second. Just give me a sec. Okay, please. You can finish. You can finish.
The problem is that you're not gonna want to just like bench bobski at this point. Like there's no way
For his first major.
like
Striker,
if it's somebody
can you-
like I think if it is somebody, it's gonna be Zipex, but as far as who should be out, it's probably bobski.
Can they still sign in a sixth player in addition to the coach as a substitute, as they did for the RMR? Is that going to be for the major as well?
Oh, as in like if they could swap in somebody midway or what?
Yeah, but also have their coach at the same time.
Right.
Is that possible for the major? I think so.
I don't know about the major. I don't know about the major.
Well, they can do that, but
I don't think
can
they
be
will.
the
I don't
sixth
think they
player,
can.
and then they'll present it as like he's a part of the team as well. And if we lift the trophy, he's gonna lift it with us.
Right.
They're gonna do the whole PR thing. It's gonna be like, oh, this is amazing. Because I agree with you. I don't like you don't want to even say it. You don't want to say it that Bobski would be replaced again. But it makes the most sense.
It's making me sad.
Like if you're taking into consideration major only, like I think it should be Bubsky. But if you're like long term or whatever, you don't want to get Bubsky and whatever.
But what long term can that be more important than like legit chances, like better chances to win a major? I don't know.
Like I'm trying to be in kind of like Astralis' minds here, and I would imagine they just prefer they just prioritize the major. They just look at what's our best chance of winning this, what's our best chance of getting the fifth one, right? Like that's like the biggest one. But
even though I think it's still the most likely thing is that Glaive just doesn't play.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could, whoever has to break the news to whichever player doesn't get to play it, I don't know how you could, like one of them, it feels like one of them would have to step up and say, yeah, I'll sit this one out.
Look, considering we've already seen Zipex
be, but
nice try getting someone to do that.
Like considering we've already seen Zipex be out and kind of like up in the air about whether he would even play the major, I think it would always be him. And if there's kind of like that understanding, because he looks like he's going to be out of the lineup by the end of the year or by next year, whenever the new Astralis comes around, essentially. Like so, like I think there's already the understanding there who would be out. Like that guy probably already knows.
Lucas just raises a point here in the chat in TeamSpeak with us about Glaive having the kid, right? And I get it. I get he's having a kid, and I don't know when the kid's due. I don't have an exact due date. I'm not going to be there birthing it.
From what Bobski said in an interview that was before some of these things, the config rumor and everything, he said that they don't know. I mean, at that point, he didn't want to share, at least if they have a specific plan. But essentially, what he said was that it depends on when the baby arrives and how much time Glaive has after that until the major for him to practice with the team and stuff like that. So essentially, my kind of guess is if the announcement comes in the next 2 weeks, maybe there's a chance for Glaive to play. Otherwise, I don't think they go into the major with less than 2 weeks of practice with Glaive.
True. Yeah. True. Okay, so it'd have to be a decision that's made pretty soon. All right. Yeah. Well, that was a fun conversation, and I'm going to be interested to see when we find out who they're going to be running with.
I just ran the numbers really quickly. They can't lock in the major and swap in a player and still remain lock in legends. Sorry, lock in legends. Lock in major. Yeah, they can whatever, but they can't. Like it's already unlikely for them to make the legends anyway because of these three other teams being like relatively far ahead. So. Yeah, maybe there's like some world, but it's very unlikely, right? So like even if they win and one of these teams just like bombs out last, like even if that happens and then they switch a player, they still drop below. So like they can't make legends and switch a player and still remain legends.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
As long as like, by the way, this is assuming that the rules work as I expect, and there even is that minus 20% deduction like going into the major. I imagine there is, but it's kind of difficult to. It's difficult to interpret the rules properly in this way because the major isn't necessarily talked about in the rules and like how the RMR points affect that.
Sure. Okay, but I want to play some like a fast five here on the way out the door before we close this one down. I'm going to say your name and throw a team at you, and I want a quick little summary about them, all right, from this event. Even if you didn't see them, just their results and what you think their future holds. Are we ready?
Yep.
All right. Prof, mouse sports.
Roster change. Acre definitely still looks super fucking shaky. I don't know what happened to this guy and where's the Mad Lions player that we knew and love, but big issues in my eyes there. And I'm not sure that's something that's going to be fixed quickly in this team. Also, there's the looming ropz exit, which is not rumored, but just essentially everyone knows that his contract is going to be up at some point in the next,
I think,
6
4
months
or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So, and it's unlikely that mouz can keep him or have a team around him that makes sense for him to keep. Thankfully, Frozen is fucking insane as well, so they can build something around that. But not looking great.
Okay. Striker, FaZe.
Fucked for the major by my estimation. I think that's kind of a half a miracle scenario, even though like one of them got kind of solved for them because they can just like ensure that they place 9th and eliminate OG low enough at the same time, essentially, because they play them like in the first round, so they're kind of helped out that way. But they're pretty fucked.
Okay.
Because they just need a pretty relatively specific scenario to go through, and they just need to win the lower bracket, which is already, I think that's actually the biggest long shot out of the requirements for them to actually win that bracket.
Okay. Prof, Dignitas.
What's like okay?
Well, just do they need? Are they going to be competitive? Remember, we had Freiburg on. They wanted to be a top 30 team, right? Are they going to get there?
Aren't they there?
Well,
I think they're around that spot. Like that's what they are.
By not qualifying for the major, it keeps the door closed. They're not going to start getting invites to the bigger tournaments. They have to find another way in.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be around that spot. I think that's where they are right now.
Okay, so they're going to continue where they are. All right. Who else we got here? Who else is another big one? Okay, this one here is a bit of an odd one, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, Striker. What do you think about Heroic? They didn't come top 2 in the group, and they're meant to be one of the best teams we have going. And
right.
Even some of the games they won were double-digit wins, like a 16-12 against Endpoint and a 16-10 against the Riders.
Like they've definitely looked much shakier off like online. There's no question about that. That's like, I don't think there's any denying that at this point for Heroic. Like they can talk about having experience online and whatever, it doesn't affect them. Like we're getting to a point where there's enough data for us to kind of notice that there's some difference, right? So I think in terms of the major, I wouldn't, like, as much as we probably would have expected them, if this was like a mega big online competition, we probably would have expected them to be kind of like somewhere in the discussion for the title rights. But I think given these couple of events that they played on LAN, and given that they just haven't looked up to par, I would say we shouldn't think of them as like major favorites anymore.
Sure, that's fair enough. Yeah, I think top 8 for them is going to be a struggle now.
Yeah, I think like playoffs contention, sure, they're still like a decent team. There's no denying that either. Like they're still definitely at somewhere up there, but like there's the step between that and being the favorites for a tournament, right? Like it being in title contention, and I think they're far from that at this point, or maybe not far, but just like missing something.
Sponge, do you think ropz should join FaZe?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think that's gonna just make FaZe good, or are there more?
I think it's going to give them more consistency for sure. I think like ropz, Twist, and Brokey means that if, let's say, Twist has an off game, ropz is there. If ropz has an off game, Twist is there. If Brokey's not hitting shots, then they can work it. They can work it out between them, right? I think it gives them more depth as a team.
Can you give me 100 words on why Brokey is the solution for G2?
100 words on why Brokey is the solution for G2.
I
hadn't even considered that as an option before, but
I mean, it's probably not an option. Knowing FaZe's transfer policy is like non-existent. It's not even about the money. It's just like no one bothers to reply. So I don't see that really happening. But it would be interesting. Like I think they need that kind of. I think he's the type of the operator that would fit G2 quite well. And Nick already played with him.
I just had a thought, and this kind of like ties into one another. And it's completely out of left field. There's nothing like behind it. Like I was thinking YEKINDAR to G2.
That's also I
So
thought
like,
about that
imagine
earlier as well.
YEKINDAR and Brokey to G2. You know, it'd be kind of funny.
That'd be fucking insane. Like Jackson Amanek for these two guys. That'd be fucking insane. That'd be the best team in
Like
the world.
that would basically like fix G2 and let them have their identity.
I didn't consider that as a mix. That's an
But-
that yeah.
Just
Like,
stop
it's
thinking
just
about that,
completely out
Woo.
of
You
left
just need
field.
to,
Whatever. They're
You need
major
to
teams. Like,
broaden your horizon.
You're right.
Yeah.
Or
You're
you pick up like
this is all going to happen after the major anyway. Like we don't really need to concern ourselves with that at this point. But it was just a fun
need
kind
to-
of thought I had. Like
need to
yesterday
throw
or
in
2 days ago.
one more name. Even though I didn't watch Hades that much.
Yeah.
He's also like just looking at the stats, like low entry attempt but high win percentage. Like that is the type of offer I think fits G2. And yeah, he's freshly signed for ENCE, but he's not a player that's going to have like a $500,000 buyout. So maybe these are the players that G2 should focus on instead of just going for the massive names all the time and the obvious moves, because it's actually just been super annoying looking at G2 for the last like year and a half, constantly getting like good signings, but obviously not having functional teams. Like it always seems like, yeah, in every team, nothing's going to ever be perfect, but there are obvious issues all the way through the last like 2 years for this lineup, and it's fucking annoying. Like, let's make this team functional, please. Let's just like, but you don't have to go the fucking amazing signing way all the time. Just find a player that works, because they have the star players.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll leave it there. I think the only other team that I would want to talk about is Double Pony, but at the same time, I didn't get to see their game, so I would feel a bit disingenuous commenting about them with any level of authority.
Apro looked good.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, he had a few games early on. I'm not sure how he did after that, but I know that the early games and why they got into a spot where they could still qualify, like, was basically like after doing really well. So
I just want to shout him out, because that team went 19-15 over Skade, 16-13 over Fnatic. They had a 16-12 loss to NIP on the final day, a 16-13 loss to FaZe, and they did lose 16-5 to Fiend. But this team has no organization, right? They have no backing, no funding. So yeah, just wanted to give him a bit of a shout out right there.
Can
Okay.
I do some shout outs? We don't have guests today.
Yeah, go for it.
So first, to my mom. I love you,
Is
Mom.
she watching?
No, probably not. She probably doesn't even know where to find this, but that's out of the way. Number 2, to Country God for the amazing song, which Striker didn't listen to, but he should, and you can all find it. Jonathan E. Unban Me, please. I think
Oh, I
that's
got
how
it.
it's called.
Can we play it on the way out?
And
why not?
then number 3, shout out to Mark Zuckerberg, who deactivated our Instagram account, and now all of Facebook networks is down. I'll just say karma is a bitch.
Get on Signal, guys. Get on Signal.
I'm done. Striker, do you have any shout outs?
no shout outs.
No shout outs? Lucas, I'll throw you a team. Copenhagen Flames.
Very easy. They're going to win the major, and I mean, we have 3 Danish teams going to the major. Copenhagen Flames, obviously the best, and they will be the new Danish top team.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's unfortunate. Thanks,
like
it's
a
unfortunate.
They haven't
Phoenix thing.
qualified yet. So if they
Exactly.
don't qualify, Lucas, you just jinxed them. Have fun with that, mate. You're going to have to explain it to them where they're playing in the Illegaganta League. What's the league called?
They're not playing.
Algae Gunted or whatever.
I was close, right? That's how they speak. They have like anyway.
No,
Jesus.
no.
I thought I was close. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another week of HLTV Confirmed. We'll be back next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. I have to fly home from Sweden first, and then we'll get hopefully a guest. Maybe Simple will join us. Probably not, but maybe. Definitely not. Definitely not. Anyway, we'll get a guest. Goodbye. Good night. Peace out. See you later.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.